Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Grab a quick more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo! Move! Back up! Oh my God! It's hitting the monorail!
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. It has been a little bit over a week. We had Thanksgiving. I traveled to Missouri and was very cold for an entire week. Apparently, it was 60s before we got there, and then the whole time it was in the 20s, and I just remembered how much I don't like living in the Midwest because I was in a state of constant, like, there was a chill in the air, like, all day, every day. And I'm just not used to that as a full-blooded Floridian at this point. So I'm very happy to be back in Florida, doing a live stream, hanging out, having some fun. I have some awesome guests with me tonight. As usual, on Theme Parkin, we got Orange Grove 55, got Slimer, and we also have Jay Shear joining us for the first time on the channel, which puts to rest the conspiracy that Jay and I are the same person. Apparently, this is a thing. Yeah, exactly. So unless we have been able to work out the logistics of time travel, we are not the same person. But before we get going, and we'll say hi to the chat here. Just want to welcome our guests in here. We've got Orange Grove 55. OG, thanks for being here. And as always, where can everybody find you? I know you're live streaming as well on your channel, but if they're not over there on Orange Grove 55, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's a great time. Good to have Jay on the show. First timer on Theme Parkin. It's gonna be a good time. Also, you are a stronger man than I am, Jared, because 20 degrees I'm telling you, I would probably have been, I would have died.
The wind wouldn't have made it. The wind chill was 12, and I was like, I remember these. Those days were not fun in the cold.
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find me if you're watching from Capture the Magic. You can find me on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. We talk a lot of theme park stuff. We talk a lot of studio stuff, and we just have a good time over there. So check it out. And thank you again, Jared, for being an amazing host. Appreciate you.
As always, I'll say mediocre. We'll go low bar, and if I hit the high bar, that's fine. I like to hit, set it in the middle there. But we're also joined by Mr. Slime Square. And by the way, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Slimer, did you have a good Thanksgiving? Where could everybody find you on the internet?
Well, happy belated Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody had a good one. We are here now in December. 2025 has just rolled right along, hasn't it? I can't believe it's going to be 2026 in a couple of days, right? So, but we're here. Times are good. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the live chat. Jay, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Jay just came back from Walt Disney World, so I'm really interested to hear about that. But Jared, thank you so much again for having me. Welcome back to the South. This is a much better climate to be in. It's nice and crisp, 40-something degrees. I'll take it any single day. But as far as where you can find me on social medias at Slime Square or Slime Square 84.
There he is.
Awesome stuff. And Jay Shear is here. Now, Jay and I have live streamed and been on videos before. First time he's been on this channel. I thoroughly enjoy Jay's movie takes. He's also he makes movies. So we actually have a creative involved here. He has a new movie, which we're also going to talk about in this live stream to go check out. We tried to set this up. It was a few weeks ago. Jay was going out of town. Then I went out of town. So we finally made it work here. Jay is over at How Movies. I forget your channel name.
How Stories Work with Jay Shear.
How Stories Work. I thought it was How Stories Are Made. How Stories Work with Jay Shear. Jay, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you?
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going to be a really fun conversation. So we get to talk about a lot of cool things. Everybody can find me at How Stories Work with Jay Shear. as I make movies, we're going to talk about disclosure today. I got a poster on the wall. We won't talk about No Vacancy, but that's coming out later in next year. As I make movies, I try and figure out how to do them better. And so as I try and learn how to do those things, I make videos about it. So if you go over to How Stories Work with Jay Shear, it's me learning how to make better movies, but tell better stories. And I've got a lot of stuff on there. Things like Sicario Explained, breaking down the script, breaking down the film, all the little things that they did from a writing perspective, from a directing perspective. All that's over at How Stories Work with Jay Shear.
There he is.
Love it. I actually did see your short on the Sicario scene, and I loved how you broke that down, because I tend, like, I'm not a movie maker, but I tend to I notice things like that in movies. Like, I get very nitpicky. And we're also, I think we'll have to figure out a time to do this, but I'm almost all caught up on Stranger Things. So I think we're going to do a Stranger Things discussion sometime here soon. So I know Jay's a big fan of it. I saw season 1, and I still contend after rewatching it. Season 1 is one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen.
Phenomenal.
And I'm at the very end of season 4. So I'm almost caught up there. But yeah, I think we're going to do a stream on that to check that out, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I love breaking that stuff down. I like Jay's perspectives, and actually Jay's going to be able to talk about his movie, and he went to Disney World, so we're going to get some feedback on what he thought going to Disney World. But we'll say hi to the chat real quick. We got Ravenclaw said, "Good evening, gentlemen." We got Falco Shimmer Flare. We got Remy D says, "Hello, Zootopia lovers." I don't think I've seen Zootopia. It was not my thing, but apparently the Chinese love it. Like $1 billion in China in like 5 days, but they are a big fan. We have James All Day TV. We got, what's up, Brian? He's finally catching a live stream. Glad you're here. And we got X Voot with a $2. Excuse me, with a $2. Uh-oh. Did I hear that? Why is that? There we go. Got X Voot with a 2. Said, "Good evening, all. Looking forward to the stream. Thank you for being here." We got Robert Polk. We got Zachary Cleary. Says he is, "Hey guys from chilly cold Midwest. I feel your pain. I was just there. It is I think right now the temperature is like 55 degrees. I can totally handle that. I can deal with that. Not the wind chill of 10. That was not a lot of fun, I will say. And it actually snowed the day after we left. And I was a little bummed because our kids actually don't know snow. And I was actually hoping they'd be able to get a whiff of snow, but they did not on that trip.
You know, Jared, a funny story real quick before we start. I back in the 90s, we had a major earthquake here in Southern California. I went out with a kid, right? And it scared my mom pretty bad. So we ended up moving to Chicago because
of the earthquake?
Because of the quake, yeah. Because we have, you know, I'm Italian, so we got family out in Chicago, you know, and it was kind of funny, but we moved out there. And I'm telling you, we moved out there, I think it was like October. And by February the next year, we were already coming back to California. I mean, we didn't last long at all. And we were rookies too, because we bought a house out there, kind of like it wasn't like in the city. It was more like this really kind of like in the sticks, as they say, kind of like in the country style area, whatever. So our driveway was like 3 miles long. And I'm sure all the Chicagoans were like, "Oh, these Californians have no idea when the snow hits."
Yeah.
And they were right.
Yeah. The Midwest, that's the thing. Midwest, like in the summer, it's not that much cooler than Florida. It's a little less humid, but it just, it can get kind of cold especially Chicago, like really windy. And that's the worst when it's cold and windy. That is just the worst combo out there, I will say. Before we get going here, we also got JJ VI9DT. I'm just going to call you JJ. He says, "Hey, big fan of the channel." I'm assuming all the channels here, so thank you for watching. Of course, we got Storybook Sorceress. Says, "Good night, gents." Welcome back, Storybook. Ravenclaw here says, "Wind chill of 10. Ha, I went to the airport when the temp was 6 without wind chill. 10-degree wind chill is nothing." Listen, you can mock the Floridian. I've been where it's negative 20. I don't care if it's negative 20 or it's 20 degrees. I hate it. I hate it all the same. I don't like the cold. This is why I live in Florida now. So that's to me. Once it gets below 40, it all feels the same to me, and I just don't like it. Like it just we were staying at my brother's house, and like in the house, it's just cold. And the house wasn't cold. But it just had that like where your feet are always kind of cold. I just was not. I just didn't like it. Not a fan. You know what? I give it 2 thumbs down. I don't like it. So, all right. Well, In James All Day TV talked about the CEO stuff that came out. We kind of already discussed this. I think maybe we'll talk about that next week because it really isn't much different after you read that article from the Wall Street Journal. It's basically what we talked about last time, where Josh D'Amaro is, I mean, essentially, I think almost 98% sure. I think OG feels the same way that it's going to be D'Amaro.
Yeah.
I would be utterly shocked if it was somebody else other than him. But we might talk about that. But if not, we'll hit it up next week. But we are going to talk about the ever constant story of Warner Brothers being for sale. And of course, this is not a secret. They had put out a deadline for all bidders to put in their offers, which I believe was last week. And you have Paramount, you have Comcast, and you have Netflix. And apparently the first round of bids, Warner Brothers said that they weren't high enough. So there's now a second round of bidding. And this is from the Hollywood Reporter. It says Warner Brothers empire hangs in the balance as second round bids arrive. Comcast, Netflix, and Paramount submitted their revised offers Monday, including an almost all-cash deal from Netflix and a cash deal from Paramount backed by Apollo and Middle East funds. So it seems the Saudis are ever playing a role in this. What do you guys... Okay, we'll start. Jay, you haven't talked about this yet. I know you've got some opinions on this. Jay, what are your thoughts on the potential sale? Well, Warner Brothers will be sold. Who do you think is going to get it? And do you think this is a good thing in general?
Yeah, I was listening to you guys. I was teasing the guys because we're all in a big group chat, and I was teasing them because when they did a show, I think it was on your channel, OG, and all you guys were just shilling Comcast, and I'm out here going, like, no way, you guys are. And they go, and then you guys said, I think Jay had a differing opinion. I'm like, oh, do it justice, do it justice. But I was like, I was laughing at you guys. You guys are great. Yeah. So my opinion has always been that a couple things. I am a creator who wants to get things funded. Okay. So I'm looking at this from several different perspectives. I'm looking at it from a fan perspective. I'm looking at it as somebody who has made short films and wants to make feature films, and who would I want to work with in order to do that? And I'm also looking at this as, one of the things that, I think it was Webba brought up on OG's channel. He's like, well, I'm just a theme park fan, so I'm rooting for Comcast because I think that this will give them way more to do with their theme parks. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at this particular bid for Warner Brothers IP and Warner Brothers resources. For me personally, the first thing I would say is I'm actually not a huge fan of I'm a bigger fan of competition than I am of creating bigger entities. So just off from the jump, I'm not really a fan of anybody buying it per se, right? The reason why I am a little bit more pro Paramount is because as mergers and acquisitions have occurred in the industry, and as tech giants have entered this field to play, it has caused so much disruption that I think ultimately the consumer is now losing, right? If we travel back in time to when I was a teenager in the 1990s, we got to have a lot of smaller studios who were doing things that were smaller budget, that would get full releases in theaters. They would have full backing of marketing plans around those. It's not to say that all of them were profitable, but think of the kinds of filmmakers that came out of the 90s because there were corporations willing to make bets on them. We wouldn't probably know who Tarantino was if somebody hadn't bet on his movies, right? They're fairly non-traditional movies in many regards. So my thing is that what I'm watching is I'm watching Comcast essentially through Universal come out with a bunch of films that are just like, sequels, repeats. How many Minions films have we had now? How many Fast and Furious films have we had now? There's not a lot of new and groundbreaking stuff. I'm glad they made the deal that they made with Nolan, and they released Oppenheimer. I'm glad about that. But you're betting on Nolan. I mean, that's not a tough bet to do. It's just
not an early underdog story there.
Exactly. So I haven't been super impressed with what Comcast and Universal have done in terms of they have things here and there that I'm like, oh, I'm really glad that they did that. But I haven't been a huge fan of that. You have Apple entering the market, but Apple's basically not doing a whole bunch of theatrical releases, which is changing the dynamic of how the industry even plays. I don't know if a lot of people watching are familiar with like how the marketplace has changed, But if you go back in time, it used to be that there was a big theatrical release, there was then a rental release, and then there was a buy release, right? And so studios had multiple opportunities to recoup the cost of making these films, which made films that were, maybe they didn't do very well in the box office, and they were more of an independent type of smaller budget type of thing. They could actually make their money back in DVD sales and in rentals. But those marketplaces have like collapsed to the point where, we've seen stories about people are not even producing physical media anymore, right? So they're not making money on physical media. So the marketplace is in this sort of like, we don't know how to make money. Netflix is highly profitable, beloved by Wall Street, but they're a damaging factor to the way that the studios are traditionally making money. So I haven't been super impressed with Comcast. I think they're kind of keep going back to the same well creatively. I understand why Webba says, hey, look, I just want this IP so that the theme parks can do really well. The Universal theme parks can do really well. And this is a theme parking show. So I have to bring that up and say, yeah, I know what you're saying, Webba, and I see where you're coming from. But if you're coming from more of a like, let's do smaller budget movies perspective, Comcast buying does not equal in any way, shape, or form to me that the health of the film industry will improve because they buy it. I'm not a big fan of Netflix buying it either, mostly because I think Netflix has been a disruptor to the industry. And by the way, as a filmmaker, I would work for Netflix. I'm not one of these people that's like, I'm never going to work for Netflix because they only do theatrical releases. I like watching movies at home, but I like competition. And I feel like, I feel like Paramount is the best buyer for this. David Ellison has suggested that he wants to not destroy what's left of theatrical releases and live into it. And I think he's more likely to take swings that Comcast is not likely to take, that Netflix is already taking, but only on the streaming side. And then I just think that who's the third one that I'm forgetting right now that's trying to buy? Netflix, Comcast,
Paramount.
I guess that's it. Paramount. Yeah, Paramount. So Paramount's the one I'm in favor of. Disney's not even a part of this conversation, which is really fascinating to me, that they're just like, hey, we already have Fox. We're already giant. It's already a thing. So for me, as a filmmaker that would like to work for some of these studios, I feel like the best opportunity for people like me who have original IP, they're not going to use somebody else's IP. I feel like Paramount's the best shot, to be honest with
you. Jay, real quick, I do want to touch upon something. Now, I do want to say out the gate that my opinions don't reflect my parent company, Comcast Universal. I just want to say that. I'm just kidding. No. In all seriousness, you make a good point though. Like as a theme park person, I think the Comcast thing is a no-brainer, right? I even would go as far to say, even with animation, I think Comcast would be a huge help for Warner Brothers. I think Warner Brothers has struggled in that area for 20 plus years since America Online bought them back in 2000. But I will say this. I do agree with you in the live action general entertainment stuff. I think Universal is really good at these summer kind of like leave your brain at home kind of movies, and they've always been that way. They really have always been the big explosion kind of studio where everything comes at you, right?
Yeah.
So they take over Warner Brothers, and how is Universal how are they gonna do right by these film franchises that Warner Brothers has? And you brought this up in the group chat, and it's a great point. How are they gonna do by those franchises that aren't the big bombastic summer movies? You know what I'm saying? Now you're saying Nolan, but that's Nolan. That's kind of like the exception, not the rule. So I agree with you on that. Now, animation theme parks, I think they're killer, but the live action stuff, I can see the concern.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say I agree with Jay in terms of like how it was in the 90s, like these smaller studios. But I think the issue, and I agree as well, I would much rather not see a bunch of these studios buying up each other. But I think given where Hollywood has put themselves, and there's in a situation where they're just a shrinking market, and this is kind of the byproduct of that. I would say you haven't really had the environment as much. I'm not saying it doesn't exist at all, but where you had that in the 90s, where these smaller movies could have a shot. They got so addicted to Marvel and these giant banner movies that these smaller type of indie films didn't really have the ability to create a Tarantino. Like, you know, and I agree with you. You wouldn't have had a Tarantino in the environment of today that you had in the 90s. Right. But I think given where it's at, I'm like of two minds. I would love to see Comcast get it for what they would do at the theme parks. Now, I think from a movie standpoint, I'm very intrigued by Paramount and the Ellisons because they've made a lot of statements. They're being very aggressive. They say they want to bring back like masculinity in movies. They want to take shots. I think they could do some really interesting things. And not to mention, the Duffer Brothers now have a development deal with Paramount.
That's right.
They did lose Taylor Sheridan. I think did he go to Universal?
Oh, where did he go? He might have gone to Universal.
I think he went to Universal. So, I mean, if you are getting Taylor Sheridan at Universal and you also have Christopher Nolan, that's not a bad combo for movies and TV shows. But Paramount is intriguing on the movie side. I agree. I don't want to see Netflix get it because they've said that they'll uphold theatrical releases, but like, will they? Like, you know, I feel like Netflix would treat a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff as just more IP to just pump out more stuff. And obviously, like Stranger Things, and they have hits, but they're very also quick to just cut stuff if it doesn't hit a certain threshold, and it doesn't really give it room to breathe. So I think of that mind, if you're talking movies and TV shows, I do think Paramount potentially is a better fit. But then you're talking about theme parks and animation. I completely agree. Yeah. I don't know who's going to get this. I mean, I at this point, I have the feeling Paramount's going to be tough to overcome with the Ellisons' money. And now they also have Saudi backing them. And I also think it'd be much easier. The administration has said that they would essentially they favor the Ellisons getting this, which I think you guys have brought up before. Netflix would be tough because then you would have Warner Brothers or you'd have HBO Max and Netflix. And I think that would not get approved. Comcast is iffy. They feel like they can with their spinoff stuff, but I think the clearest path to getting this is probably Paramount. You know, talk about theme parks, that's got implications for Universal if that happens, but I think that's probably where that stands.
And on top of that, the other thing you have to think about from a business perspective, which I didn't talk about much, but if you are Zaslav acts like Zaslav is the CEO of Warner Brothers. He acts like he can simply go, oh, I can separate linear and separate the studio and sell both separately. No big deal, right? I think that he's intentionally acting nonchalant as if that's an easy thing to do. But let's not forget, Paramount is the only buyer who's going to buy both. Netflix and Comcast are like, linear, screw linear. We don't need that stuff. We just want the studio properties. So I think that Paramount, and by the way, I think Paramount's essentially saying we want to have this studio so badly, we're willing to pay for the linear assets that we don't really want, but we'll take them because we want this property. So from a business perspective I think that one of the things we're seeing for sure, and it's kind of crazy because this wouldn't probably have happened 30 years ago in the 90s anyways, is that the PR campaigns that they're all running,
there's so
crazy.
Much. I didn't hit on that. There is so much stuff out there right now that is being pumped into all the news outlets about. It's hard, and that's why it's really difficult to know where any of this stands, because you see one store and you're like, oh, it looks like Paramount, and you see another one, and you're like, well, it might be Netflix. Like, and the only one I haven't really seen a lot on is Comcast.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just because they're not playing the PR game as much, or if they're. It's hard to know. I mean, I felt like a couple weeks ago Comcast was going to be the favorite. Now I'm not really so sure.
I know, it's kind of switched over, and you got to think about it this way too. Why would Netflix be even entertaining this? It changes their business model drastically if they're going to go like have a studio, a traditional studio. The whole point of Netflix was we are not a traditional studio. Well, part of this is how high can I get? How much can Paramount pay for this? So that they're set up with debt on their books when they're competing with us, right? So in other words, when you're playing a competitive game at the height that these people are playing at, you'd offer bids to get the value to keep going up, because if your competitor takes it at that valuation, they have a setback of being like, how do I make money on this now, right? So they're playing 3D chess here. Netflix may be doing what they're doing, and they don't even want. Studio to a certain extent.
I actually thought about that very much like Comcast with Disney buying Fox. They were never going to try and buy Fox. They just threw in that bid to make Iger pay an extra $20 billion for it.
That's 100%.
And I think I could see Netflix doing that, because I think Netflix, I've always felt, is the long shot to get this.
Yeah.
And they may just be like, well, if these guys are going to buy this, then let's just make them pay more for it. and clear up the area here. But Slimer, what do you think about all this?
Well, I want to give you an example of the amount of disinformation and propaganda that these companies are pumping out right now. Actually, a friend of the channel, Mr. Seymour Duck, shared this earlier today. He's always on X. First thing in the morning, 5 a.m., he wakes up, he looks at his X, and what he does is he gives us all the updates. And so we all get our news from Mr. Seymour Duck, truth be told. But the New York Post had reported that they have an insider that said that Paramount, or Warner Brothers rather, favored a Netflix bid. Now, I don't believe that for 1 second. But if you look what happened to the Netflix stock today, it actually dropped 5%. So the Netflix shareholders don't like the fact that their own company is being favored to purchase Warner Brothers. And the reason that is because they have about $9 billion of free cash flow, which means that they would have to borrow. And remember, they're making an all-cash offer. They're going to have to borrow over $50 billion with a B, which is going to put their serviceable debt at $50 billion, which really is not great. If you're looking at just the company overall, their books are just going to be in shambles after this, because they're going to buy the linear too, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I thought it was Comcast and Netflix that were saying they didn't want the linear.
That's what I thought too. But the deal could be changing all the time, and we wouldn't even know. Yeah.
And then you have Tim Sarandos going over Washington D.C. It's already being reported that he's making his rounds, saying that this isn't going to violate antitrust laws. Which I believe that he's doing that because David Ellison is over Washington, D.C. saying that the Netflix purchase is going to violate antitrust laws, right? So they're pitting the companies against each other with the politicians. I mean, this is how big this is.
Yeah.
But here's what I really think about it, because I know that from a theme park perspective, Universal, Comcast acquiring Warner Brothers would do wonders for the parks. But I want to paint a different picture for you guys and for the people in the chat. And what if Paramount and Warner Brothers separately got into the game of the theme park game? I think this would be a better option for the consumer, because now you have a third player, a big player. Like, they wouldn't just come in small. Like, no. They're going to come in and they're going to introduce Top Gun, Star Trek, right? You'd have a massive Star Trek base at the theme park. I mean, you'd have all the Paramount, Ghostbusters. I think Paramount, they probably pull back the licensed IP rights that they sell for that. There's a massive library. Oh, the horror movies, the Warner Brothers library. So
and DC, all the DC properties. Yeah.
So all the IP, this gold IP that everybody's bidding for right now, would go into a third competitor into the theme park market, which I think only would really make sense if you're trying to get out of linear. And at this point, I think it's inevitability when you look at the drop off in theatrical. Theatrical has always been cyclical, but even now more so than ever, it's a cyclical business. And so whatever the outcome of this purchase is, I think at the end you're going to have the same situation when it comes to the consumer kind of being stuck with these really expensive, tickets and the concessions, and being very picky and choosy about what it is they're going to spend their hard-earned dollar on. And so the studios are going to be stuck with the same problem, despite the fact that they've absorbed, this massive IP library, whoever the studio is that absorbs them. But from like a theme park perspective, what I do want to see, I do want to see a third competitor come into the realm. I think that Paramount and Warner Brothers, it's going to be the most serviceable and the best in terms of like what they can do for theatrical, because they do have Paramount and Warner Brothers are the most aligned when it comes to the quality of content and the kind of content they produce, which is usually more like highbrow. It's more cerebral. It's not like a turn off the brain, come watch the movie, blockbuster film, which I have some theories about how Steven Spielberg kind of ruined the blockbuster in that sense, right? Well. So look, I'm not going to talk bad about Steven Spielberg, but the blockbuster that we're faulting Universal and Disney for falling into this trap, right? Steven Spielberg kind of contributed to that. So, but yeah, I hope that Paramount. I used to think that I wanted Comcast, and you can tell. Yeah. You could ask any of these guys. I used to think I wanted Comcast to get it, but now I want Paramount to get it simply because I don't want it to fall into the hands of a studio who's going to just churn out like very huge blockbuster films like Universal. But at the same time, though, I don't want Netflix getting their hands on this thing because I don't think that they're really going to do anything productive with a Warner Brothers.
Well, no, I agree. I agree. I agree with you, Summer. I will say this though, because I definitely don't support Netflix getting it. I do not want them getting it. But I will say this, to be fair to Netflix, I will say that Comcast is a broadband company, and they went in, they bought Universal. On paper, not knowing how that would have ended up, that there could have been a lot of, and there probably was at the time, a lot of concerns about that, right? How is this cable company gonna kind of manage this big studio? And they've done a really good job. So I think Netflix, it's kind of the same situation where people are like, this is concerning. It's very risky. But to be fair, they might get it and they might hit a home run like Comcast did. We don't know, but I don't want them to. I don't want to take that gamble. I think Warner Brothers is such a legendary IP. I don't want to take the risk with Netflix, but I will say if they get it, it might work out like it did with Comcast. We just, there's that possibility. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and I would also say it's not like I'm rather down on Hollywood in terms of it's not like all these studios are putting out all these like interesting indie movies that are just, like, oh, I didn't ever even think about that. They're mostly putting out just slop that some of it hits. So it's like, if I understand the argument like in the 90s, but Paramount's also improving. We don't know what the Ellisons, they haven't produced anything yet. So it's hard to know with them in charge, like what this stuff looks like. So I think no matter who is looking at this, there's worries about all of them. Now, I completely agree. I think Netflix is just, I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that will be the worst thing for Warner Brothers. And we've talked about this before. I don't know if Warner Brothers has a care about, like, are they looking for a good parent for their IPs, like their children, or do they just want the most money? And I think if you're looking at this in terms of we want a good home where these things will be taken care of, I do think Comcast has a good track record in that situation. Paramount would be, they're aggressive, they're going to do some cool things, but you don't really know exactly like how that's going to look. And I just don't know, like, there's no indication I've seen from Zaslav that he has any worries about that. It just seems to me like he just wants more money. Every time you see him, he's just like, no, more money. So I don't know.
No, 100%. One thing though that a lot of people aren't talking about is Paramount and Skydance are one company now, right?
Yes.
John Lasseter is running animation for Paramount Skydance.
I brought that up before. That's a very interesting thing that so far hasn't produced anything of relevance out of it, but he's still there. Still John Lasseter.
So he would be running Warner Brothers, I would assume, animation. So, and that makes me feel good because I do feel, aside from him as a person, creatively, the dude knows what he's doing, and Warner Brothers animation needs all the help it can get.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I brought this up. Falco Shimmer, I think it was Falco Shimmer, pointed this out in the wrap, and they said that Comcast, and this is another wrinkle into this that was reported yesterday. Comcast bid would merge Warner Brothers with NBC Universal, apparently, is what they're saying here. So under the terms of the deal, Comcast would continue with the separation of its cable network portfolio into Versant, while Warner Brothers would continue with the separation of its cable network into Discovery Global. And the offer would give Warner Brothers shareholders a combination of cash and stock. So, I mean, you're really getting to the nitty gritty here of like what each of these companies would do with it. It seems like there's Saudi money involved potentially with Warner or with Comcast and with Paramount at this point. So I think the Saudi money will play some sort of a role in all of this, if I were to guess also, which brings a whole other thing into this. Yeah, I mean, I still want Comcast to get it, but I wouldn't be mad or upset if Paramount got it. I just simply don't want Netflix to get it. I think Netflix would just, I'm not saying it would be a disaster. It just, like Jay was saying, it goes against everything they have their business set up as.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to get this, it would like, are they going to really transform their entire business model like into now these theatrical releases, which they could decide to really, you are seeing Stranger Things going to theaters. They played around that with K-pop Demon Hunters. They could be toying with more theatrical releases, but I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there.
I feel like it's almost more likely that if I'm Ted Sarandos of Netflix, that I get Warner Brothers with a 3 to 5 year plan to destroy theatrical, like, right? Like, because you're even taking less ability of the popular IP to be out there in theaters, and you're saying, no, it's going to be on my platform only. And so I think he'll play nice and be like, oh yeah, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. And with the end goal being, no, we're not. We're going to just actually put it all on WB. And the last point I'll make, in regards to some of my favorite stuff that has come out of Warner Brothers was the Watchmen TV show. The Batman, which is a Matt Reeves Batman, I thought was amazing. And then also the Penguin show. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Penguin, but the Penguin was phenomenal. I don't see Comcast doing any of those shows. They would not do a single. Those shows are way too, what word do I want to use? Those shows are way too niche, award-winning type of things that they would just not touch. So I just feel like, I'm a Paramount fan on this. I get the argument for the theme park, so I'm not against that argument, but I'm thinking primarily on the studio side first. And on the studio side first, I think it's Paramount, or I'm a little bit disappointed. Unless Netflix takes it and does some cool stuff with it. I do think Netflix content could be cool, but it's going to change the marketplace, in my opinion, so drastically. Because I just don't think Netflix is going to play nice for theatrical.
Well, and you bring up a great point, Jay, is, Netflix can say whatever they want now.
Yeah.
But once they own it, there's no obligation.
Exactly.
There's no obligation. Yeah. So, I mean,
and that's the risk. If you're, theaters are struggling with the lack of really, the behavior of moviegoers have changed, and a lot of it is due to streaming. A lot of it is due to the fact that I can go to Costco tomorrow and get a 65-inch TV for $350.
Yeah.
And it's crystal clear. And you don't have to deal with anybody else in the theater. And so and like Jay was saying, they no longer have like DVDs they sell. They don't have that aftermarket. It's just movie release and then goes to streaming. And streaming is not as profitable as they all thought was going to be whenever everybody was locked in their homes and watching TV. And it was like they thought that was going to last forever. So I could definitely see where Netflix is like, they are the antithesis of movie theater owners, I would say. Like, they want this all to be like, they want Netflix to grow. Their whole purpose is grow more subscribers.
Yeah.
The theater runs don't really help them in that. And so that's the thing. You could see them, if they get control of this. I don't know if they would forbid any movie releases, but they would, I think, as time goes along, even if they played nice at the beginning, they would likely do something, because they are disruptive. They would do something different that Comcast or Paramount would probably do.
One thing you brought up that I think is really important that people understand too is how the marketplace works around revenue. Because what Netflix has done, and you said this earlier, Jared, and this is why Netflix does this. So you said earlier, Netflix cancels a lot of stuff. You don't see a lot of properties going 5 seasons like Stranger Things has done, right? You don't see that. They usually last 1-2 seasons, boom, they're gone. Well, why is that? Because from a revenue standpoint, you either are a paying subscriber or you're not a subscriber that they want to bring onto the service. Okay.
Right.
So when there's a new property coming out, you have a greater propensity for someone to say, I'm not a Netflix subscriber, but I really want to watch One Piece. Or I'm not a Netflix subscriber, but I really want to watch whatever it is. But if I'm a subscriber already, I just have this revenue that I'm playing with to create new content. Well, my season 1 comes out. I have a certain number of people watching season 1. Then my season 2 comes out. I didn't get any new people, because it's only people that like season 1 who are coming on. So my revenue pool has not grown. It's the same revenue pool. So it's always, from a Netflix perspective, it's almost always better to launch a new thing, thinking that you can get more people on the service paying for it from the subscriber perspective, than just maintaining your base. You have to think about both, but that's why they don't do so. Now, is that a problem from a business model? No, Netflix has actually done a little bit more of the independent like movies, right? That they're paying lower budgets to have movies come out. But I do think too, Netflix has a very different perspective on not a very different perspective, a slightly skewed perspective on what creative content is. The traditional studios have a little bit more of we are the arbiters of taste. We want to have like really good stuff. Netflix is like whatever people will watch, dude. Whatever the data says people will watch, put it out there. It's a very different perspective. So I'm not too, of the three studios, I prefer Paramount just to see what happens. Then I actually like Netflix better than Comcast because I tend to like Netflix content better than I tend to like Comcast content. But we'll see what happens, man. It's a wild time.
Well, I've always looked at Netflix. They're very much like they're the most tech like movie. I get they're not really movie studio, but like of that type of content. Like they just look at the analytics. They are analytical driven, and it's like there's been a couple of shows. I can't. There was one show they had one season of. It was really really good, and they just axed it. Yeah, and they just like, hey, not getting people. We don't care. Yep. And then like. I understand it like from an analytics perspective, but at the same time, it's like sometimes like Seinfeld, that show would have been cut by Netflix after like 1 or 2 seasons.
Great example.
And so it didn't give it a chance to breathe, where it's like some of these shows could catch on. And it's very rare you get a Stranger Things and the K-pop Demon Hunters. But when something does pop on Netflix, it does tend to pop culturally.
Yes.
Like you're seeing Stranger Things right now.
Correct.
Whereas things really don't pop on other streamers as much. I mean, you could say HBO Max is Game of Thrones and things like that, but it's interesting. They all have strengths and weaknesses, but like I just, at this point, I was pretty convinced it might be Comcast, given OG and I were talking about how it seemed like Zaslav and Brian Roberts were kind of making mirror moves to each other.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, again, with all this stuff, it could all change on a whim by tomorrow. And there's so much PR they're all putting out that it's really hard to know where all this stands. I would be surprised though if Netflix ended up winning it, just because I don't actually think it would get approved.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and you guys are right. Netflix is like we're gonna throw everything on the wall and see what sticks kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, and that's why I think they do move when they, because that you're inevitably gonna get a hit with that model. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, even a trash can gets a steak every now and then, right? Like, like you're inevitably gonna get like a hit because they just throw everything at the wall, you know. And it's like, and where the studios I think are more particular, so it's a little bit, you know, it's a numbers game.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I do agree. Anything else, Slimer? Got anything else to add?
Well, you know, I was actually looking at this article right here about the wrap, and this is actually an interesting move by Comcast, because essentially what they're going to do is they're going to spin off their linear, and they're going to merge it with Warner Brothers Discovery, and Comcast will be left to serve the debt, which makes total sense, because when you actually look at how much revenue NBC Universal makes for the company, I think it's like under 10%. I mean, it's a fraction of Comcast's overall revenue generating machine. But you know, this is also a big stock option move for them as well, and so you know, it's a very complex maneuver. I'm really kind of surprised that they're going this route, simply for the fact that they're looking to spin it off during the merger acquisition as opposed to afterwards. So, but I mean, if Brian Roberts is able to pull that off, I mean, kudos to him. I think that'd be a big move. I think that if they can pull that off, I think they're really doing 2 birds with 1 stone. They're spinning off their linear. From the major company, but then they're also doing the acquisition as well. But you know, when it comes to Netflix, I do like their approach sometimes, because Netflix in a lot of ways generates the most original content, right? And they're the less sequel driven out of all the studios. I feel like
that's true.
They're the less to come out with us, you know, a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and do this thing that Universal and Disney do that I think that a lot of people are really burnt out on. And they'd be the last to do like a live action take on, you know, an animated series. So from like that perspective, Netflix seems to be the most like supportive when it comes to original creators and let the creator own their content. And Paramount actually used to be that studio. But of course, you know, it was the pandemic that really kind of changed the ties in that, or Warner Brothers rather. I'm sorry, not Paramount, Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers used to be that studio, but a lot of that changed during the pandemic, which is why Christopher Nolan went to Universal, and the whole tenant issue.
Zaslav himself, that's a really good point, Slaver. Zaslav himself is not really. He's not really. He almost wants to operate Warner Brothers as if it's Comcast Universal, as opposed to what it was. So that's an excellent point. I can see why he would want that suitor because of that.
Yeah. Well, real quick, we got a 5 from Cliff Flicks. What's up, Cliff Flicks? says, what good is a $28 per share offer if the DOJ won't approve it? Europe regulators hate Netflix even more than the FTC does, and the Ellisons know this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing you're dealing with. I feel like we're watching a live episode of Secession happen where you just have a bunch of billionaires that are like vying for these toys, and they're probably all having dinner together and just being like, I'm gonna get this guy. Like, I just imagine all these, like, how billionaires look at this stuff would be I would love to see a behind the scenes like reality TV show of all this, like when it's all wrapped up. That'd be great television just to see, like, you know, somebody gets a call at 2 a.m. Hey, the Ellisons made this. Like, oh, okay, we got to up it. Like, just stuff like that. I just see this all being very, very interesting. But I'm not going to, like, a lot of this is above my head in terms of, like, it's just a guess, like, in terms of all this stuff. But just from a consumer standpoint, I think we all have our preferences. I really wish you could separate out the theme park stuff for Universal and then give the movie and TV stuff to Paramount. That would be great. I would actually be okay with that. But obviously, I don't think that's how that's going to play out. But
real quick before we move on, I just want to address a couple things. Kiki and Luca here says, can we get Webba to say physicality again? Yes, we will absolutely get Webba on the show.
Why did that pop up? Did he say it weird?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, you know what it was? He whispered it like ASMR. I think,
oh, that's right.
and I also want to give a big shout out to. And I just want to thank Mr. Brian for being a member for 5 months. Yeah, you're very welcome. I gifted a bunch last night to some folks watching the show, and Brian was one of them. So you're very welcome, sir. And I appreciate you being a supporter of both of our channels. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what would be funny? I love Nolan's Batman, but the third one was not the best. But what's funny about that is Bane, when his talking, there are so many memeable clips from that movie of him just like I feel like Tom Hardy was trying to be serious, but everything came across as just like when they go to the Wall Street and he's like, time to go mobile. And you're just getting on a bike like, what? Like, this is so weird. I feel like you could say a lot of Bane stuff like physicality. It's like, why are you saying it so weird?
Physicality. It sounds almost like a Mortal Kombat finishing move.
Ooh.
Right?
Good point.
Physicality.
Which is what we're watching right now, is all these studios. But I'll try and get caught up on the chat. You guys are very active, so thank you guys for being here. I'm not gonna be able to catch up on all of these, but if I miss one, I do apologize. But Remy D says that Netflix getting this would be a disaster. It would pretty much be a streaming monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
James All Day TV says, for DC and Looney Tunes and Universal, I'm pro Comcast. And I think that's the thing too. Animation side, Illumination's killing it. And I think the animation side gives it a chance for Looney Tunes to have a resurgence. And I don't know, I'm not saying Paramount couldn't if you gave that in control to Lasseter, but I have a lot of confidence in Comcast animation side. I guess I put it that way. Let's see. I know some people saying, could Comcast win the WB bid? Here's the thing. I said from the beginning of this, I was very much saying Comcast couldn't because of their debt load. But apparently Kavanaugh himself has said in the last earnings call that they didn't really directly say about Warner Brothers, but they did say with the spinoff happening that they felt like they would essentially clean up their books. And they felt like they could get past regulations. And if they have financing from the Saudis, which was reported like 2 weeks ago, I mean, if you got Saudi money, they don't even know how much money those guys have. They just have it in the trillion. It's just like a slush fund of trillions. They're like, how much do you need? Like, okay, here, take this bag of whatever's in here. It kind of changes the whole perspective of it all.
Well, just by spinning off NBC Universal and Warner Brothers Discovery, they'd be spending $8 billion of debt that they just invested into Epic Universe right off their books. So
yep.
That's the plan.
That is very true. Storybook Sorcerer says, I feel the same. We are going to win some and lose some either way this goes, but I do think it would be great for the parks. I'm assuming if Comcast got it. I would agree there. We also have a couple of super chats from XVoot. XVoot says, I don't think Brian Roberts will let this go easy. This would save the streaming future for Comcast, major IPs, and huge theme park benefits. That is one thing. It would, Peacock is the weakest streamer by far.
Oh, yeah.
And so if they were able to do this and be able to get HBO Max, they would immediately become probably like number 2 if they combine those all. And then plus you throw in the theme park stuff, and Comcast is definitely trying to make more money from the theme parks, given the linear melting iceberg that they have. So that makes you wonder, like, Roberts is a very savvy dude. And I feel like him being a little quiet is if I was in this bidding and Brian Roberts are being quiet, it would worry me. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like they're not really putting out all this PR, and you're just like, okay. Like he's obviously played this game before with Disney, so he's like not afraid to kind of just mess with things. But
he needs to have another interview with Bob Iger on CNBC.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob Iger is always going on CNBC. What are you doing, man?
I don't. Yeah, I don't get that. I talk to Seymour about that all the time too, Jay. I really don't understand that.
Doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense.
They're viewed as the investors network. I think, but I agree. It is weird that that's where Iger goes. Matt Muir, I think this was to you, OG. Matt Muir says, I'm due back on the channel soon for another armchair creativity video.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Thank you so much, Matthew. All the way from the UK.
I would do a really bad British accent right now. And Xvoot for 5 says, theme park wishful thinking time if Paramount wins. Comcast buys Six Flags and inherits DC and Looney Tunes theme park contracts.
Yeah.
Now that would be interesting. I do wonder if there is a backup plan. If they don't get it, if they make some other, type of move, is very possible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I just want a fully realized Gotham City on the tier, the quality tier of Wizarding World.
I want to be in a ride where I'm in the Batmobile. That's what I want.
There you go.
Like I'm flying around like
That would be
Superman.
awesome.
I'm all for it.
Have you guys seen the video of the park out in Dubai that has the Warner Brothers theme park that has the indoor?
Yes.
It's all indoor and it has like the Joker thing.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Every time I see a video of it, it's like empty too. It's so wild.
Their theme parks over there don't. That's why I'm curious about the Disney one. Their theme parks don't have near the crowds that you're used to seeing in the States, at least. Andrew Cheers says that's what's going to happen if Skydance buys Warner Brothers. They'll go into theme parks. The money is too tempting. The Wizarding World license is up for renewal in 2029.
Oh, that would be interesting.
And see, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Comcast has a lot on the line if they're not able to secure those rights, which makes me think that Roberts would go to very great lengths to, at least at the very end of the game, maybe he ensures those rights stay with the theme parks on some way to work out some sort of deal. But this is why I think they're willing to they may be willing to cross a Rubicon that the other ones aren't, because I do feel like Comcast has the most to lose potentially. And every day you're not able to buy Warner Brothers. I mean, it's not like Warner Brothers goes for sale every other year or anything like that.
I think it's fair to say that Warner Brothers has the most to lose and Paramount has the most opportunity. And not just Paramount. I think the consumer has the most opportunities, because eventually I think that'll lead into Paramount WBD, if they're to merge, to get into the theme park market. And with that, you would have a third competitor and a big one at that, with some major IPs that would really shake the monkey tree. And Universal wouldn't just have to compete with Disney at that point. They're going to have to compete with Paramount, Warner Brothers, and a lot of their own IP, right? So I think that would probably be the most interesting timeline, just from a theme park perspective.
And I would like for another theme park thing to pop up. I'm with Jay. I like more competition. I think if you had 5 different theme park destinations that were all vying for this, Disney would not be doing the price hikes they're doing if that was the case. If it was legit competition, you'd have to be much more reactive to the marketplace more. I would actually love it.
Now, Jared, if you don't mind, Ben Zacuto, Ben, you made a comment on my channel today, and I want to actually address your comment. It was an interesting comment about a Slimer, our video that we did last night, and we dipped into linear with Disney, and we said that we felt Bob Iger was kind of latching on to linear because he came from linear, he came from ABC, and Ben was concerned about the jobs if Disney were to get rid of ABC, right? And that's a fair concern, Ben, I do want to say. But here's the thing. It's becoming an albatross across Disney, around Disney's neck right now, where how many jobs are they going to lose if it brings the whole company? If it brings the whole company down, you're going to lose even more jobs. I don't want to see anyone lose a job. I definitely don't want to see anyone lose a job. But if it's going to affect the entire company, even more jobs are at risk, so it's a tough decision. It's not an easy decision, but eventually this might be a road they might have to cross. Linear is dying, and do we just keep it to keep it? but then what happens to the rest of the company and everyone else's job, you know? So that's where we're at, Ben. We weren't rooting for people to lose their job. It just seems like something that it's inevitable that this linear stuff is not gonna work out.
It's probably a situation where you cut the jobs now or they get cut in like 5 years. Like it's going to happen regardless the way it's heading. And not to mention that's before you even throw AI into the mix. And who knows what jobs that's going to mess with, especially as more and more companies do that. But Deshaun, let me see. Deshaun Edwards says, which company do you think will keep James Gunn around? Hopefully none of them. Because despite what others online say Superman was enough of a success. I will highly disagree with you there. I hated Superman. And I think it ended up losing money. I don't think it really made money. I don't know that would be a very interesting question about what would happen with Warner Brothers or with DC. I would be full on okay with a complete relaunch. I like James Gunn's movies. I don't think he's a good studio head, and I don't think that he is good he's good with Guardians type movies or ragtag group movies, in my opinion. I don't trust him. I didn't like Superman. I don't trust him with Batman. I personally would be fine if James Gunn was not involved in terms of DC. That's my personal take, though.
And I'm also curious too, and this is kind of separate from Gunn, but also DC related. I feel like the cinematic connected universe stuff is really kind of like waning. Interest in it is waning. People don't want to invest their time into all this stuff like that anymore. I think it was great leading up to Endgame, but I think that trend is sort of on its way out. And I'm wondering how Warner Brothers approaches the DC universe in this new kind of dynamic where do we need a connective universe? Can we do the standalones? Or maybe we do like trilogies like we did back in the day with Batman. Do we need to do like 17 films all connected? I don't know. It's a conversation to be had because I don't even think Marvel is really they're not really crushing it right now either with this whole connected universe thing. It's kind of, it's fizzling out, you know?
Well, you can make an argument it was a one-hit wonder that you can't replicate, like the MCU. Like, I don't think the MCU could even replicate what they did, let alone another studio. And I do agree, like I would be much more interested in a trilogy of Batman or a trilogy of Superman that might have some, you might be able to do a possibility of an intertwined movie down the road, but they're not necessarily like all part of this. Like you got to see 25 different movies to catch up on this one movie. And I think that's where, as the MCU has gone along, that's what's hurt them is if you got on board with the MCU now, you're like, oh, what do I need to watch to catch up? Like, oh, just 30 hours of movies. And then you totally caught up and you're just like, oh, I don't want homework. And you're like, well, what it is. And like, I that's why I like, the trilogy idea or like one-off movies more. I think personally.
Oh, I agree with you. And it hurts you in the box office too, because it's like, okay, so if I didn't see the 2 Disney Plus shows, then it's like, I'm gonna be less inclined to go to the theater to watch the new Marvel movie because I got to catch up.
Yeah, not only do you have movies, you have TV shows, and then
exactly, and it's like, and then it's like now they're missing out on box office tickets because people are they don't want to go in there before they see the other stuff. It just leads to a big mess.
Yeah. Well, 2025 also showed us that superhero movies outside of the Avenger films also have a box office cap.
Yes.
Right. So Superman, Fantastic Four. You also had Captain America that also came out this year. They all made somewhere in the vicinity of like high 400s to low 600s. Zootopia, I'm a little bit more bullish when it comes to people being over superhero movies. I think people are checked out.
I tend to agree.
And I think that it's over. It's over, Anakin. It's over for superhero movies because Zootopia 2, as of reporting today, has already made more money in its box office gross globally than every superhero movie released this year. And it's been out for less than 2 weeks.
Part of the whole thing comes down to they didn't pay attention to what happened in the comic book world. So if you look at what happened in the comic book world,
absolutely,
these products were created that were amazing. And then they said, we should make as much revenue from this as possible. So I need to get Slimer to not only buy the main storyline, I need to get him to buy all the offshoots. Because then they'd say, okay, now you have to read those 10 comics to understand what's going on here. What's crazy is that Disney just ignored that as a lesson and was like, full steam ahead. It doesn't matter. Put the offshoots in there. And then what you create is you also create a fandom. I remember this was very instrumental. I did a presentation at the college where I was working. And I did a presentation on superheroes and what superheroes meant from a philosophical perspective. and it would have meant to be a hero and would have meant to be a villain. And I had like 12 people in the room as I'm doing this presentation. It was a very small event. And I go, how many of you have seen Black Panther? And like one person raises their hand out of the 12. And I'm like, oh, they already have a problem, because what my perception is that the general audience does not think like the comic book audience. No. Remember when we were kids and you'd walk into a comic book store and there'd be 4 guys in a corner arguing about whether or not Hulk could beat Superman in a battle or not, right?
Yeah, constantly.
And then if you were like the general fan who walked up and was like, yeah, what do you think about Batman? They'd be like, you're an idiot. You need to leave the store right now. And, well, the MCU created that by going, you have to watch all this stuff. So the general market person walks into a conversation about the MCU and goes, I have no clue what you guys are talking about, right?
Yeah.
It used to be like, did you see the Avengers? Oh yeah, fun movie. I thought it was really good jokes. I liked Loki. That's fun. But then you created the thing that you created a niche as opposed to creating a general market fandom. And you just can't do that when you need to make $1 billion off every movie to make up for the budgets.
Yes, the budgets are crazy.
Yeah.
I completely agree there. Well, no, what drives me crazy is I could say the same thing for Star Wars and the extended universe, but like comic book movies should be the simplest damn thing you can do, because you can just walk up to a comic book section and go, which one of these are the best selling stories ever? And you go, take that one. Let's make this one. It's real. I mean, there were so many good stories in the extended universe with Star Wars, and the minute they bought it, they got Lucasfilm. They're like, "Hey, by the way, those aren't part of it." And you're like, "What?" And then they're like making all, and like you could have just made like some of these stories, and you'd be still printing billions. It's just, it's like they want to get too creative with it, and I think this is, I think it was, who's the guy? He was in the Spider-Man movies. Ash for Dead. What's his name?
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. He spoke at a thing one time and he said the minute that comic book movies stop making money, they will cut them so quickly because they're so expensive. And none of the studio heads like them. They just did them because they were making money. But the minute they're not making money because of those inflated budgets, they will axe them. And I think we're in the midst of that happening, where there will always be a desire to see like a Batman, a Superman, like these main tier characters. But these mid-level like Guardians of the Galaxy type movies, I don't really think you see those as much anymore. I think basically the MCU really waned on the appetite of the general audience of like superhero movies as a whole going forward.
I really do believe that Zootopia 2 is the Overton window shifting. I don't think that's registered for a lot of people, but the fact that it outperformed every single superhero movie this year, I think that is the audience telling the studios, this is what we want, and not just the superhero movies too. I think this also stands for live action as well. This is a mandate from the audience that says, we don't want that. We want this, and we want it so much. It's the 4th highest grossing film of all time. I mean,
well, and if you look at the last few movies that have made $1 billion, most of them have been like Moana 2, Inside Out 2, outside Deadpool and Wolverine. Most of these have been animated movies or family movies. So I definitely think there is something to that. Now, I would also say Zootopia 2, most of that is seemingly, from what I don't know what the domestic box office is, but a lot of this is China. I feel like you just hit this weird vein with China where they're just like, we love animated animals. And it's like,
did you see, Jared, guys, did you see there was a theater in China that was allowing you to bring your pet in to watch that movie?
Yeah, it's like a nightmare. I would never go to them. If I walked into a theater and saw a bunch of animals, I'm out. I love dogs, but I'm like, I'm out. I don't.
Well, that's like a normal day in LA, though. I see dogs and strollers every day. I don't know. It's out here in LA. That's like
I judge people that have their dogs and strollers very harshly. I keep it to myself, but internally, I do have some judge. I'm not gonna lie. I do judge a little bit there, but to each their own. To each their own. JJ says, I want Michael Eisner, Frank Wells' version of Disney back, meaning originality and creativity. Completely agree. Tone. Okay, Tone says, hey, Jared, Steph Curry is better than Michael Jordan in golf. You're probably true there. I don't know as much about their golf games. I don't think Jordan's that good at golf. I think he gambles a lot on golf. But
wait, is there a feud here about whether or not Steph Curry is better than Jordan?
In and was saying Steph Curry was better than Michael Jordan, and I vehemently.
That's just rage bait, dude. Tones knows better than that. Tones knows better than that. I know Tones really well. That is bullshit. He's just trying to rage bait you, dude.
I mean, it's very possible, and it probably worked very well because I was like, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's a maniac. Tones also says you can see that some directors connected to these movies don't want to give credit to those writers of comics because they can make their own storyline and be the quote legend of Marvel. I think there's something to that, as well as I think if they change enough of a character, they don't have to necessarily pay royalties to the same degree. So I think there is something with that stuff too. But you absolutely agree with that completely.
I think that's true with Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just get back to regular Star Wars music, by the way? Why do we have to keep messing with it? Like, they have the rights to it, but they always tweak it. I'm like, there's no tweaking John Williams. Just leave John Williams alone. Like, I don't get it. Storyback Sorkin said the biggest question is, do walk your dogs on a stroller, OG?
That's funny. No, well, you know, my dog, I have 2 little dogs, and my little dogs walk to a degree. But after a while, like, especially the Shih Tzu, he'll just like sit and be like, okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna sit right here now. I'm not gonna do anything, you know. So then you got to carry him.
That's what kids do too, by the way. They're just like, I'm not walking anymore.
We're done.
And they're also called Shih Tzus.
That's true. That is very true. That is true. All right, let's move on to our next topic here. I'm trying to think. Let's go ahead and talk about Jollywood Nights with Jay, and then we'll get into disclosure because I don't want to run out of time. So we'll hit up, because we could really talk about this for an hour and a half about the stuff at Disney World. So maybe we'll save that for next week if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah.
And then so Jay went to Disney World. Now, Jay, you live in Colorado, correct?
I live in Colorado.
I love
just to give just a little bit of context. I born and raised in California. Long time Disney Parks fan. Was a pass holder for over a decade. All that kind of stuff. Moved to Colorado in 2021. And I've been to Walt Disney World, but only maybe like 4 or 5 times. So this was like my 5th trip, I think, to Walt Disney World.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
By the way, I love Colorado. I want to go back out there. I love going to the mountains. And all
Oh, dude.
that.
Yeah. Come visit.
Yeah, I will definitely hit you up because we plan. I want to go back out west and go to I've been to the Grand Canyon since I was like 8, 10 years old, something like that. So take the kids out there. But yeah, and then on the way out there, we hit up Disneyland. So we plan on making sort of a big trek. Is
There
sort
it
of
is.
thinking there.
There
But
it is.
What's the nearest mountain range to you?
To me?
Yeah.
I mean, the Rockies are just right there. They're like literally, I can just drive up into them.
Can you really?
Oh yeah, I can get to. So I'm up in northern Colorado. Okay.
Okay.
So I can get to like Estes Park. You've heard about Estes Park. Estes Park is where the Stanley Hotel is located, where Stephen King wrote The Shining. I can get to Estes Park in 45 minutes.
Oh.
Just
Sounds
straight
like
shot.
sounds like a guy's trip.
That's awesome. My brother went to Pikes Peak last year, and his my nephew, they went up there, and he got altitude sickness.
Oh, dude, yeah.
He like when we went up there, we were kids. And I remember it being up there. My brother got lost up there, but he said they got on that trolley, and he just started getting really sick, and he thought his wife would get that way, but it was their kid. But he said once they got down regular level, he said it was fine. But it's not.
And I should note too, Estes Park is basically the border before you hit Rocky Mountain National Park. So and Rocky Mountain National Park is gorgeous. If you haven't been there, you got to go. Pikes Peak is a couple hours south, maybe 2 hours and 2.5 hours, because Pikes Peak is down near Colorado Springs. So more like central Colorado. Yeah.
Okay. See, if I'm going to be cold and there's going to be snow, I want it to be like where I can see the mountains. Like on a snow cabin. Like I can handle that, but it's like when you're just in Missouri and it's
my wife and I have agreed that we need to be close to an ocean or a beach, because I love Florida. We lived in Florida for like 5 months and I loved it. Even part of it was in the summer. But Florida's amazing. You just got to be close to an ocean or a beach, or sorry, mountains or the beach. I bless all the people out there. If you're in the chat and you don't live close to a mountain or a beach, God bless you, because I don't think I could do it, to be honest.
Yeah, we're like 20-30 minutes from the beach, and we get a nice little coastal breeze in the evening. Yeah, it's hard to beat that for sure.
You have to embrace the environment that you live in. That is one thing that I've learned living in Florida for 39 years now, is you have to embrace Florida. You can't just live smack dab in the center of it. It'll
you got to get Crocs. You got to. I mean, if I have my hair growing, I'm growing out a mullet. I'm full Florida man if I'm doing all that.
Piracy.
Pink flamingo on the front lawn. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hold on, before we go, Tone said, speaking of music, they love to hate on Hans Zimmer when he makes his music with Dune.
Do they? Dude, his music in Dune is phenomenal. I didn't know. He was hating.
By the way, I love the music in Stranger Things. The synth they use, like I was on a road trip, like I was watching it, like and that's the thing, I had to get caught up, but it's like it's not that big a deal to catch them on 4 seasons. But the music, I love how they use the music in that show. I think it's so good.
What I love about the synth in that show is that there was synth in the 80s, obviously there was synth, but it wasn't that synth. So it's like a platonic form of synth that we actually listened to in the 80s. It's not 80s synth, right? It's like it's an interpretation of it, which
100%.
is nostalgic, but almost like ethereal. It's not real synth. It's not 80s synth.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like a modern take on kind of this synth. We got Mr. Webb. Oh, I think I knocked that down. Mr. Webb is in here. He said, "Is it Christmas already? It looks like Santa brought us the best looking men tonight." I mean,
he's not wrong. He's not
Christmas
wrong.
does come early, Mr. Webb. Storybook Sorcerer says, "I lived in an island off of the coast of Brazil. Then I met my husband and moved up state New York, and I'm almost in Canada. Boy, I miss the ocean." Oh,
that would be a rough move. That would be a rough move.
That's a tough move. That's a tough one there. I can tell you, going from Missouri to Florida, it's pretty nice. Not gonna lie, not too bad. Going back, not so much. But all right, let's talk about Jay's trip here. Jay went to Disney World. I think he got the mouse ears. He did the whole thing. Probably in a commercial coming up pretty soon. What did you guys hit? I know you went to Jollywood Nights. Did you go to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party?
Yes. So we did. Actually, I can give you like a big description of what worked and what didn't work. What these guys told me to do that I did not do, that I was wrong. I can give you all that stuff. But basically the trip was going to be, we were out there for about 9 days, and the plan was to do park, day off, park, day off, park, and then leave. Right? So 6 days at the parks. What we ended up doing was kind of crazy, actually, because the nights that I was able to get for Jollywood Nights and for Mickey's Very Merry were on the days we had off. So it was like this stacked trip.
Yeah.
For a little bit of context for people who may not know, I have long COVID, so I have a lot of fatigue issues and stuff. My immune system's not very good. I got sick before I went out there. So a lot of the things that you guys told me that I should or shouldn't do, that I was like, oh, I'm going to do that anyways. I was a terrible decision on my part, because I couldn't be active enough in the parks for it to be worth the money that I was spending, right? And so, so for example, one of the things that these guys told me not to do was don't buy any fast passes. And I was like, well, I think I might need the fast passes, because I tend to get really slow starts in the morning. I used to wake up really early and go for runs. I can't do that anymore. So I get really slow starts in the morning and then don't get there to the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I'm not getting on any rides. There might be really long lines. So I'm going to buy the fast passes or the lightning lanes. I'm old school. Lightning lanes, don't buy them. You guys were 100% right. It was a waste of my money. Should not have done that. I bought park hoppers thinking we'd be able to hop parks. I was way too tired to be able to, and sick to be able to hop parks. So I spent a lot of money that I did not utilize. But I will say Jollywood Nights and Mickey's Very Merry, dude, phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend those.
So I always say Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party it doesn't change. It's a constant party. They know how to do that one. Jollywood. So I did it the first year. Jollywood was not good the first. We were at the very first Jollywood. It was a rough party. Like even very pixie dusters out there were like, this is not good. Second year was much improved. I will say I haven't gone yet this year, but comparing Mickey Very Merry Christmas Party to Jollywood, which one did you prefer better? Like, what would you say are like the pros and cons of it? And by the way, OG, feel free if you got questions, hop in whenever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a couple things. The first thing is that it's just my wife and I. We don't have kids. We're not traveling with kids. So when I say that Jollywood Nights is a 10 out of 10 experience, I'm not thinking about it from a parent standpoint at all, right? So what are we doing when we go to Jollywood? We're going to we went to some of the various shows. We are grabbing an alcoholic beverage and just walking around with it, right? We are very much OG vibes type of a thing. Now, because the ride times are a little shorter, we did hit a few rides. I'm a huge Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway fan. It's like one of my favorite rides. I know there's haters. You can hate all you want to. I love that ride.
It's a cool ride.
Yeah, it's a good ride. It's a little better in California because the queue's a little better, but it's a phenomenal ride. So you got to think of it in terms of like, and my wife and I were, when we saw people dressed up, I don't know how it's been in the past, but this year there were people dressed up a little fancier. There were actually some guys that were wearing suits, some women in dresses.
They did that the first couple of years too.
Yeah. And that was like, oh man, if I had known that the people did that, I would have wanted to do that. It was a little bit warmer for it, I think, this year when we were there. But so you got to think about it in terms of like, back when we were in California, Carthay Circle was like a great experience for us. If we could walk into the Carthay Circle Lounge this was before it got real busy and there's like a whole wait for it all the time. You could walk in, get a really nice cocktail, sit around, be surrounded by the 1940s style, 1930s, 40s style with pictures of Walt and stuff like that. That's our vibe, right? Like that's great.
Right.
And so Jollywood Nights to me has basically embraced that vibe. Almost better than DCA has, to be completely honest, at this point, because I think DCA is a little bit confused about what it's trying to do. Yeah, I feel more nostalgia for Hollywood when I'm in Florida at Hollywood Studios than when I'm in DCA, for sure, hands down.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect of that park. So yeah, we had a great time because we went to listen to the there's a band that plays sort of like 1940s 50s jazz music right in front of the Tower of Terror. Phenomenal.
That's the Tip Top Lounge, I think.
Tip Top Lounge.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. And that was great. We saw the Muppets kind of variety show. That was also fantastic. Loved that. The only thing that I would say was not the greatest experience, two things. One, because there are no kids, you have a few people that, let's just say, there are some boomer folks that like to skip lines and things and think that they can just do that. And that was kind of annoying, especially when it's very obvious that they're literally saying to your face like, "Oh, I think we might have cut in front of you guys." Yeah, you did. So get behind us now.
Like I might have actually put you in a headlock.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hurt my elders, but yes, it was so there was some of that going on where and by the way, drinks in Disney World are outside of like Nomad Lounge, which I think has phenomenal drinks. I think that Trader Sam's has some great drinks. The drinks there were just okay. You can find a good drink here and there.
I think most of those, one of the main complaints about Jollywood and some of the parties is they're pre-mixed. And so if you are going to get drinks, pre-mixed drinks are not very good.
100% correct.
Well, Jay, I was at Disney with Tones and Marcus back in August.
Yeah.
And DCA has a drink called a Baja Breeze.
Okay.
And Tones and I both had one. And it's like
a Baja Blast with alcohol.
Pretty much. That's exactly it.
So good.
And it was really good, but he's absolutely right. I went back to the hotel. I crashed like 5 hours. I was in a coma basically. Like, dude, this thing knocked me out, but it was really, really good.
Did you do like an Irish goodbye? You drank it, you just left without telling anybody. And you're like, where's OG?
Where's OG?
He got Baja blasted.
I got Baja blasted. I was gone.
Yeah, so the other thing we didn't like about Jollywood Nights, I don't know what was going down with this. It was very awkward. We saw the last showing of Glisten, which is their fake ice skating show, right? Where there's the people like ice skating out in front of out right in front of the Chinese theater there. I don't know if it was the B team. I don't know if it was the last show of the night. There were not that many people watching at that point in time. So it was very obvious. You could see everything going on. I was scared for the performers, dude. There was a couple times when I thought they're going to fall and break their neck. Like, it was wild. So I don't know if it was like they were working in new people and giving them an opportunity at the end of the night.
It was kind of that way last year, if I'm being honest.
Was it?
Yeah,
dude,
I don't know.
It is not comfortable from a fan perspective.
Yeah,
you're gonna break an arm up there, and I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I think they outsourced that because it was the same last year. It was like, I appreciate the effort of it because it's cool. Like, you got they're ice skating and they actually have their own soundtrack to it, which I thought was kind of an interesting touch. But yeah, some of the skaters, but I will say, skating on that surface. So I know that when we went to Missouri, our daughter hadn't really ice skated, so we ice skated on an actual ice rink. And then this other place we went to was like that fake ice is what they had that place. that stuff is really hard to skate on.
Yes.
It's like super slick. And I'm actually a pretty decent skater. And I was like, I could barely stand up. So I think part of it is
yes,
they're skating on this really weird surface and they're still trying to do all this stuff. So they're probably really good skaters that are just on this really strange faux ice surface. That, the whole time you're just like, oh, I hope somebody doesn't fall.
Yeah, it was really awkward. It was really, really awkward. But other than that, I would say it's a 10 out of 10 experience. We loved it.
Now, Jay, I have a question for you. Okay, so you saw Zootopia together, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah, over at Animal Kingdom.
Now, I want to pick your brain on that, and also I want to because Slimer and I had a great conversation last night on a video about Animal Kingdom overall, and it's my favorite park. I love that place. It's like because I'm a vibes guy, and that park is just vibes and really basically nothing else. But what would you say about the new Zootopia show? What were your thoughts on that?
Okay, so a couple things. I think that the negativity surrounding it was a little strong. I would have said it was a little bit overblown. I do think, though, that it is, one of the things that Disney has always been really great at, which is why I'm a big fan, is storytelling. And I think from a storytelling perspective, one of the issues that they have with that show, there's a couple issues. One, they're constantly building throughout the entire show that they're going to have a big concert with the Shakira character, right? And you're like, well, I know that song is a banger. Like, I can't wait to hear that song. They even play the first line of it, I think, at one point in time. She kind of starts singing it. And then, so they keep hyping it as if it's going to be like, we're going to go to the concert at the end of this, escapade that happens. And so when you do that as a storyteller, one of the things they always tell you as a storyteller is you can't show someone having a gun in Act 1 and then just never show the gun again. Because if you show the gun, now the whole audience is thinking that person has that gun. They're going to bring the gun out. It's going to be a big thing at the end of the show. So you're the whole time you're sitting here thinking that they're going to do the Shakira show and it's going to be real cool. And then they have a throwaway line where it's like, yeah, we couldn't actually get the rights to this song, so here's another song. And you're just like, what? It's bizarro. I know it was supposed to play for a joke. It's just not funny, and you don't see the song. So you're like, I'm disappointed. I think also one of the things I love about Zootopia is that Zootopia breaks your perception of what's going to happen. The bullied person turns into the bully, right? If you haven't seen Zootopia 1, I'm spoiling it a little bit there, but you've had plenty of time to watch it. And I think that is a masterpiece of storytelling in the modern day. And this kind of thing that they do in this show is not really as, what word do I want to use? It's clever. Not really as engaging. Yeah, it's just a little bit more like, oh, we're going to try and find. So I would say that the show is not that memorable. It is, but it's a very acceptable show. It's just nothing. It's just not going to blow you away. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing too. And I haven't seen the show. I've seen it online, but I haven't seen it in person. But one of the things I do love about Zootopia in general is it kind of reminds me of Roger Rabbit. Maybe not that edgy, but that kind of animation where it definitely, or maybe a Looney Tunes, where it has that adult kind of like edge to it.
In there. Yep.
Yeah, it's not just it's not a kiddie movie. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen the second one yet, but the first one definitely wasn't. I feel like this show kind of misses the mark with the tone of the franchise, where it's like it's kind of like this more like, yeah, it's for kids, but there's like that Looney Tunes, Roger Rabbit sort of edge to it. This show feels like, hey, we're going all in on the preschoolers, you know?
Yeah.
I think that was weird to me.
I think it definitely does feel that way a little bit. It's also interesting when you've seen It's Tough to Be a Bug. It's interesting to see how they change that theater to kind of like retrofit that theater to work for this new show. I think part of the problem, and you're right, it does feel a little bit more kid oriented, but so was It's Tough to Be a Bug, right? Like it was pretty I mean, they had some scary elements. People didn't like the spiders coming down, and there's some scary elements. Maybe it wasn't for kids as much, but I think when that came out, it was Disney's really good at this usually, although I think that they've been a little less good at it lately. Their rethemes usually feel almost like a brand new thing. In this case, it actually feels like you're in a Tough to Be a Bug theater and you're about to watch that, and yet it's not that. But you remember when It's Tough to Be a Bug came out? Like it was almost, I don't want to say it was revolutionary, but it was so 4D, right? They're spraying you with stuff, they're stinging you with stuff, things are crawling under you. It felt like, oh, this is a new thing that I've never really quite experienced before, right? This is like, oh no, this is a retread, and it still feels like It's Tough to Be a Bug in so many ways. So it's not like a retheme. I can see why fans might be like, oh, I thought I was getting like a legit new show. It doesn't really feel like that, right? Like even I would argue, and this is I don't want to go into this controversy because we could talk to the rest of the show about this. But I finally rode Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I've been to Disneyland and could have ridden it, but just didn't want to get wet. We did ride it in Walt Disney World this time around. And it also feels like, oh, it's just kind of like I'm riding Splash Mountain with new elements. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to think of a good example of when they've changed up a ride where it's like, this feels like an entirely new, okay, even Haunted Mansion Holiday feels like it's a completely different ride almost, right? Just thematically speaking, it just feels like, oh, I'm in a different, I know I'm in the Haunted Mansion, but it feels like more than an overlay. I would argue that even Hyperspace Mountain, which isn't even doing that much different, feels like a pretty legit overlay.
Mission Breakout is another example of a great one.
Mission Breakout's a fantastic example.
Yeah, it's the best example. Yeah.
But I feel like there's this thing that they do where they'll just kind of like for example, we rode Space Mountain in Disney World. And I was like, it was like some Christmas theme thing. I couldn't even have told you what the hell it was, dude. It didn't make any sense to me at all. It wasn't a proper retheme in any way, shape, or form. So I think that it's struggling because it feels like an overlay that still feels too much like the original, to be honest.
Well, and Jay, I asked this of Slimer last night in our video on my channel, and I want to ask you too. I feel like when they designed the Tree of Life with the Tough to Be a Bug show, it felt like it was designed with the purpose of this being here for a long time.
Yes, 100%.
Where this show feels like we're turning this into a flex space now. Is that the vibe 100%. You got?
Yeah, that is a really good way of describing it. It feels like this is the latest show in this space. It does not feel like this is going to be something that's going to be around for 10 years.
And that's very true because actually, Jay actually got to watch that show last weekend as well.
Yeah.
And all of the retheming are all bolt-ons. Like they didn't. Yeah. So they put in a lot of pictures. Like when you're standing in the line, they're explaining to you what Better Together Day is. And everything that is themed with Zootopia is not actually something that they've taken out and replaced with another permanent object. It's all bolted onto the walls, and you're noticing this as you're walking through, and you're just like, and OG actually put it precisely when he said that this is going to be a flex space now, and I wasn't thinking of that word when I was in the line, but in retrospect, when he mentioned that, I was just like, you know what, he's absolutely right.
He's 100% right.
Because even when you're in the audience, or the auditorium rather, the auditorium, nothing has changed. Like, oh, okay, like Clawhauser, you have Clawhauser instead of the grasshopper. Forgot the character's name, but that's really about it. I mean, the seats are the same. The ceiling where the spiders come out of the ceiling, the holes are still there. Everything's still there. They just repurposed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree. It's going to be a flex space, and my problem with the story, Jay, was that the story seemed a little bit chaotic, simply because and I think that's for several reasons. One, it had to be a certain time. I think they were shooting for 5 minutes. I think that determined that show is about 6 minutes tops. Simply because of the demographic they were aiming the show for.
Yeah.
And so it had to be very fast paced. I mean, for me, it seemed like a Broadway production in that sense. Just the pacing of the show. But then because of the demographic, the cogency just didn't have to be there. Like, for example, they start the show. Clawhauser takes them to the polar ice caps, and then Judy and what's the other character's name?
I don't even know. Nick, there you go.
So Nick and Judy show up, and all of a sudden they're starting to solve a crime. And from my perspective, I was just like, oh, we're solving a crime now. I didn't know that there was a crime that even happened. So I was like, okay, well, I'm following this crime, they're solving this thing, and they're driving this car all around the world. Okay, well, I got to suspend my belief that a car can drive all the way around the world instantaneously. And then okay, so I'm going to spoil it for you. There's somebody in the show that is trying to spoil Better Together Day. Okay, like it all just kind of is. You're just kind of being told what's happening, and again, that's probably no fault of the Imagineers and storytellers. They've been given 5 minutes to tell a story about Better Together. So, but again, to Jay's point, people being hypercritical about it. Yeah, I was hypercritical too, but at the same time, like once I was there and I saw the normies reaction, which was overwhelmingly positive. I mean, there was a lot of cheers or a lot of gasp, and there was an applaud at the end. People seemed to enjoy the show, and once I saw who was enjoying it, I was like, oh, that's not me. That's this other group. That's Jared's kids' age that is having a really good time with this. And at that point I was just like, okay, like this isn't my audience. It's not for me. I'm gonna go ride Everest and have a good time over there.
And the surprising biggest miss, and you tell me if this is true for you too, Slimer. The surprising biggest miss to me is that it almost feels like Nick and Judy are side characters. There's so much going on in the 5 minutes that happens, and you're right. It's like scene, over, right? There's so much going on that you almost, in my opinion, lose track of what makes Zootopia as a film work. Because Judy and Nick have to work together. They don't really want to work together. They're both very they're Judy is sort of more of the straight character who's very endearing, and we like her for that. And then Nick is sort of like the comic relief sidekick. It's kind of subverting everything, right? And that's not really present at all. Like it's almost the best moment. We got a comment from Remy D, who said, "What about the spit? How is the spit?" That's the best moment. That makes everyone laugh. There's a character in the who's speaking, and as that character speaks, he's just kind of spitting on you guys. And then that's when they're doing the water thing, right? And that probably is like the highlight of the show, right there. Like that was the highlight of the show, and it gets the biggest response from the audience because everyone goes, "Oh my gosh, they're spitting on me." But yeah, it's a very I would say it's lackluster for all of us. It's fine for what it is, but it feels very temporary. I think that's the best description that I've heard, OG. And you haven't even seen it in person, but that's what it feels like.
Well, I can tell you, my daughter is 9, and she didn't care for it. She was just like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, she was just very like, this is weird. Like, she does not want to do it again. But granted, like, she doesn't really like she's seen Zootopia. I don't know. Zootopia is one of those movies where I've seen it. Like, I didn't think it was anything great. I was actually surprised to learn it made $1 billion. And seeing Zootopia 2, I'm like, this is just something I don't get. Like, I don't know. But it's I think my son would like it more. He's 6. I think you're talking like 5 to 6 year olds and under. Maybe it's like who really gets into this, maybe, but I don't know.
Well, Robert Sprice asking, OG, what did you ask for Santa for Christmas? I asked for a better Zootopia 3D show, but I didn't get it, Robert. I'm sorry.
Well, it's not Christmas yet. So I mean,
well, that's true. Maybe we will get it.
They did have to rework that bird show like 3 times. I don't know if you guys recall that one. The original one they had Animal Kingdom, they redid it to Up, and when they redid it, it was awful. Like I can't even tell you. That was the first show I went to where the people were in costume, and I was like embarrassed. Proxy. I was like, this is bad. And then they shut it down and redid. I think they rewrote it at least like twice. I don't know what. I don't think I've seen it lately, but yeah. I mean,
I'd only seen it before Up, and before Up, it's a great show.
Oh, it was an awesome show.
Yeah,
they just wanted to put the Up IP on it, which I don't think was needed. And then they had like it was the dog and the kid, and it was just weird. Like the whole time you're watching, you're like, I just want to see birds do stuff.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. I want a bird to buzz my head and walk away. That's really all I need in this. But
AJ, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I have a question for you. Okay, so in my opinion, and your opinion might be different, but in my opinion, I felt like Magic Kingdom was like live action Disneyland. It felt very much like checking the boxes, but didn't have the heart and the soul that Disneyland has. So it was actually my least favorite of all the Disney World parks. Now, what's your opinion on Magic Kingdom? And do you feel like after recently being there, like this Villains Land and this new version of Cars Land will kind of make Magic Kingdom feel less of a lesser copy than Disneyland? Or how do you feel like bringing its own identity onto the?
As a Disneyland pass holder for a long time, I think, and now not being close to a park, right, which is a huge bummer. I think about Walt Disney World so much differently. Like, I don't know what it would be like to be Jared or Slimer, where I could like drive there. You know what I mean? Like, I now when I was living in Florida, I did drive there twice. I did do 2 trips to Disney World, but it does not feel at all to me like a locals park. I know that there are locals that go there all the time. It does not feel like that. It feels like a vacation park to me.
It is. It's not a locals park.
Yeah.
That's a misnomer. Yeah.
Yeah. So and Disneyland is the opposite, by the way. I prefer to go to Disney World now as a person who's not a local, because as a local, you get to know Disneyland, you know, the little tips and tricks. You go to Disneyland now and you don't know those tricks anymore. It's only been like 4 years since I moved away. I have no clue what's going on, dude. I'm like, oh, that's the thing I need to do. Like, what's the thing? Oh yeah, they're all running over there to do that thing. Oh, I'm late. Now it sucks that I'm late because I don't know what was going on, right? So I think WDW is a much better park because I think you have to just view it differently. So I don't view it anymore as, is this comparable to Disneyland? So what I do view it though as is, like, I remember we went there, we didn't go to that park for like 4 or 5 days into the trip. And I remember thinking very distinctly, like, we came here for like the holiday stuff. We were a little bit early for the holiday stuff. Like, they mostly were doing it, but not everything was done. Our hotel, the day we left, finally had decorations on it. We woke up, we're like, oh, they're here and we're leaving. Okay, so yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm missing out a little bit on that feeling you get of being at Disney during the holidays. Do they have stuff at Animal Kingdom? Sure. Do they have stuff at Hollywood Studios? Yeah, sure. But do they have stuff at Epcot? Epcot was not doing much of it yet at all, because they kind of wait for the Festival of the Holidays, based on my understanding.
They put their stuff up later than
they put it up a little later. So I started to miss, like, there's a feeling that Disneyland gives you that also Magic Kingdom gives you, but they're distinctly different parks, and I have to think of them as different. Disneyland is like the cool kids go there and hang out. People are super into it. Magic Kingdom is, no, my aunt and my uncle are there and they're just trying to do like throwback stuff. And it's just kind of, but I like it because as a vibes person, there's a more chill, like it's a little bit more chill there than Disneyland is as a vacationer, in my opinion. Now, granted, I wasn't there on like super duper crowded days, and being there during Mickey's Very Merry is awesome because the lines are much shorter for everything. But yeah, so I would say I have a different type of appreciation for Magic Kingdom. But if you wanted me to compare the two parks, I'm like, I mean, you can't really compete because like Disneyland is like the original. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's different.
Yeah.
How were the crowds when you were there? Were they heavy or were they kind of
the only heavy day of crowds? This is the week before Thanksgiving week, right? I left on the 21st. The crowds were not bad. The only bad crowd was that Bowling for Soup was playing at Epcot the day we were at Epcot, and it was a Friday, and so that got to be real crowded. But other than that, I would say the crowds were minimal and fantastic.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Interesting. Now, you've been to Universal in Florida as well, but this trip you did not go.
Dude, I'm not a Universal Parks guy in any way, shape, or form. And the reason for that is because I am too old to ride a bunch of the rides that Universal. Now, when I say I'm too old, yeah, sure. If you want to be Jared and take your what word am I looking for? You do your protein shakes, and you're gonna like be ripped out, and you're gonna do all. If you're taking peptides on your way to ride a Velocicoaster, good for you. But I'm not doing that.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So
hey, I still want to see Jared arm wrestle Bob Iger. That's my goal.
I don't want to hurt Bob Iger. That's my problem. I don't want Bob Iger to be in a cast on CNBC, and they gotta
Jared will bench press Bob Iger. No, so for me, there's a lot of rides at Universal that they're too intense. It's not that I wouldn't enjoy them. It's just I have really bad motion sickness, so I can't ride Flight of Passage, for example. Like Flight of Passage for me, I get off cold sweat. Like, oh my god.
My wife's to say she has really bad motion sickness, and she has a cocktail that she does. Like she can ride she can ride Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
Like the first time we ever did that, when she's here. Hi. So I wrote it first when it first opened, and we got done with it, and like my daughter wrote it, which they said it was a family coaster, and we got off, and it was a little bit more intense than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And we got done, and she's like, "How is it?" I'm like, "You're gonna die on this thing." It's like, I'm gonna do it, and like she still rides, but she has this little cocktail she takes, but she'll get motion sick just like in the house. Like she'll do something to turn the wrong way, and she's like motion sick for like 2 days. So I completely understand that.
Yeah. So I don't like to do a lot of rides with screens, and I don't like to do. I love coasters and screen rides. I just can't do them. I would love to be able to do them. I just can't do them. So for me, Universal parks are. I love Universal Studios Hollywood because it's very much a vibes park, but I don't like Islands of Adventure as much because the rides are too intense and so some of that stuff. So for me, I'm not that interested. Even when I look at Epic Universe, I go, there's a lot there that I don't think I can ride, so I'm not that interested in it. So
I feel no, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. That's why I'm a vibes guy. I'll walk around, I'll eat, I'll drink, I'll sit. I mean, I'll go on like a few things, but for the most part, I'm not really hitting ride.
Yeah, and like the studio tour, the Universal Hollywood studio tour is almost worth the price of admission by itself. It's like a real life dark ride, if you will, right? Yeah. It's gonna drive you around like, hey, they're filming stuff right there, like that. Oh, hey, that's where the cast of Friends has a fountain or whatever it is. That's probably not even a Universal property, but so I think that Universal Studios Hollywood works as a vibes park, but because the Universal parks in Florida don't work as vibe parks for me, I'm just not that interested in them.
I feel you. No, I feel. I look at the roster and a lot of the attractions over there, and I wouldn't go on 80% of it. Yeah.
I also think it changes too whenever you're a local. You're not as concerned about rides.
Totally.
Like you just kind of go more, but I think when you go like less frequently, like rides become much more of a thing. Because for me, if it's over 30 minutes, I'm like, eh. Like the opening day of Epic, like I may have waited for certain things, but unless outside of like a random thing there, like I'm just not going to wait that long to ride stuff. So like they kind of like lessen their appeal in some ways.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Webber, try to get your ride count up, Jay.
Bro, Mr. Webber can get his ride count up with Candid. Candid Camper and Webber can go to Disneyland together while Tones and OG and I are just hanging out at Carthay Circle Lounge.
Yeah, we'll be chilling at Carthay drinking Baja Breezers, right?
That's right. Oh, yeah. Baja Breezers and Daps, dude. That's what I'm about.
I also like a Giant Pan Adventure says protein shake. I like the idea of protein.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like that belongs on a shirt, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually, it does. I like that a lot.
I feel like that was from a show that I can't think of at the moment, but
is that from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? No,
I was thinking South Park, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. Maybe I don't know.
I saw a South Park reel, which I can't even explain what it was on here because I don't want to demonetize anybody. But it still shocks me what that show gets away with, and Family Guy too. It shocks me.
Yeah, South Park is. Yeah, I think because they've been doing it for so long, and they just simply don't care. They just get away with stuff because I think that's part of it. If you don't care, you're like, can you really be canceled? You're just like, whatever.
Well, that's true. It's like Eminem. I mean, he's making fun of all kinds of people. Like he shouldn't be making fun, and no one canceled him because like he's so extreme on that extreme end that you're like, how do you even cancel this guy? He's
well, because he'll write a rap song about you if you do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're next.
You don't want to. Yeah. I don't know why some people decide to go at Eminem. I'm like, that's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
That's going to end really badly.
Yeah. Like if the Wu-Tang Clan's not going after Eminem, you probably shouldn't either. You know?
Probably. Yeah. I think Benzino is still having anxiety attacks ever since.
Oh gosh, dude, that was when I was into it so much. Like he destroyed Benzino. Like Benzino never recovered from that.
Oh, then there was MGK. MGK had weird beard.
MGK
was his
best pop star or whatever he did.
That guy's doing whatever he can to stay in the limelight. Holy cow!
That guy's testosterone fell through the roof.
Ever since the man bun, right?
I've never seen somebody get destroyed to the point where just like, I'm giving this up and I'm just going to go over here and do Britney Spears songs and try and be legitimate. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Eminem basically turned MGK into a pop punk artist.
That's exactly
Spice Girl, basically.
He got nuked.
Did you guys ever hear the diss song Eminem did about Mariah Carey?
Yeah, I've heard all those. Yeah,
That's a crazy one too, bro. It's wild. This guy.
My favorite one though, the pettiness of how much they destroyed Ja Rule, and to this day, 50 Cent doesn't let it go, because it was like not that long ago where 50 bought up the first like 10 rows of a concert of Ja Rule's just so they would be empty.
Oh, that's so
just to mess with him to the point where it's just like, I love that level of pettiness.
Dude, 50 Cent's a troll. Did you see that he came out there's a movie or documentary that just came out of 50 Cent?
I did see that.
Netflix?
Yeah, it's about Diddy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And apparently Diddy was not happy because 50 was one of the ones. There was some clip where 50 was on some show and they're like, I guess Puff Daddy was like, I'll buy you a bag. He's like, buy me a bag. And he's like, he always was like, I think he always was saying P. Diddy was like doing extra weird stuff. He's like, P. Diddy's weird. And then he comes out that 50 was right. And they're like, hey, you want to make this documentary? He's like, yeah, sure. And they were just like, he hates Diddy. And you're like, well, I don't think many people like Diddy at this point.
No. And there's rumors, and again, these are rumors, but there's rumors that he has something to do with the Pac killing and all that. Supposedly.
Those are long. So I did a deep dive into the Pac stuff years ago. I think there are some legitimate connections there. I do think that.
That's wild.
I do too.
We gotta do a show on that. That'd be crazy.
I went down a wormhole of Tupac stuff. Like I was convinced at one point that he really wasn't dead, but I think at this point he probably is, or he's in Brazil somewhere. I don't know.
Well, no, I agree. The years following his death, I was in the same boat. I thought, okay, he's coming back. He's gonna come back. He's faking his death. He's living somewhere like in Cuba or something, and he'll be back. But yeah, I think he's gone now.
Have you seen the guy that some people think is Elvis? Something Joyce. He literally sounds and like, I don't think the age thing makes sense. Like I think Elvis would be much older because he's not like a Southern pastor somewhere, but he sings sometimes. Dude looks, sounds, moves like Elvis. I think it's Bob Joyce. I think that's who it is. I think it's Bob Joyce. Oh, there's a bunch of conspiracies that Bob Joyce is actually Elvis. And like like I said, I don't think the age makes sense, but when you watch him, you're just like, that's freaking Elvis right there.
I needed a new conspiracy, so thank you.
Oh, that one is interesting.
Hey, real quick before we get to disclosure, Jay, this is what I love about doing theme parking. We get into some crazy tangents, bro.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it.
I mean, most of it is I love a good tangent. I could go.
We could go. The Danny Jones podcast just had the "We didn't land on the moon" skeptic talk to an astronaut. So if you guys ever want to talk about that, let's talk about that next. I'm down. I'm here for all that.
I mean, I'm not gonna say we didn't go, but I'm not really convinced we went.
Exactly.
All I'm saying, there's a lot of motivation to say we went at the time. I'll put it that way. And then they can be my kids. We just went to Kennedy Space Center. It's a cool place.
Yeah.
But like, you lost the technology to go to the moon. You lost it, and you don't have any of it. Like, I don't buy that for a split second. You're insulting my intelligence to just be like, oh yeah, we don't know where any of that tech is. That's why we can't go back. Like, so you went there on less than the something supposedly powering my phone, and yet you can't go back. I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't pass the smell test. That's for sure.
No. I love a good conspiracy theory. But speaking of conspiracy theories, this is a good segue right here. Jay is a very talented filmmaker, and he actually just made a movie. So he's in. We're talking about movies. Jay actually makes them. So therefore, he has a way more cool factor when it comes to all this stuff and just credibility here. But Jay made a short film called Disclosure, which is right up my alley with his, aliens, abduction, all these things. So Jay, let's describe Disclosure, what it is, and then we'll watch like maybe 5 minutes of it, and then I'll put it in the chat of where to go check this out. But go check out Disclosure; it's really, really good. But talk about Disclosure real quick, and whatever you want to say about it, or if anybody has any questions.
So Disclosure is it's a proof of concept short film, and a proof of concept short film means that we have a feature script. We want to make the feature script, but we want to show people that we're talented enough to be able to make that. And it's really about someone trying to figure out which one of these 6 people that she's talking to knows the truth about what UFOs really are. And so it plays out. There's a big twist at the end. If you start watching it, you have to watch to the end. You also then have to watch Tone's live reaction that we recorded with them, because Tone's had a great reaction to it. But that's basically what Disclosure is all about. And it's me listening to hours upon hours, like probably hundreds of hours of people interviewing either UFO experiencers, government people, all about like what is really going on here. And all of that's included. So there you go. That's what Disclosure is all about.
Love it.
Awesome. We'll watch. We'll stay like 5 minutes of this real quick. We'll watch it and then we'll talk because I do have some questions here. So let's watch a little bit of this here.
Where would you like to start?
I propose we open with the little green men.
UFOs and the associated paranormal phenomena? I don't know. It's a very broad topic.
Are you a Catholic, miss?
I'm only here because the top brass sent me a nasty gram when I declined the first time. So you tell me.
I've tracked down information that many people find uncomfortable, but sometimes the truth is uncomfortable.
Wouldn't it be easier if you just point me in the right direction?
Pretend I don't know anything.
Right. Well, I think we have to conclude that the U.S. government is lying to us.
What I know is classified.
How about the preponderance of evidence among witness testimony? Do you know how reliable witness testimony is? It isn't. So what do I know? I know that UFO experiencers are, to put it bluntly, unreliable.
Several species of extraterrestrial life forms have visited Earth. I possess documents alluding to 4 known species, but I believe there may be many more, quite possibly as many as a dozen.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot, but I'm more interested in what I don't know, like who you are and how you got my number.
Do you believe in God?
Why don't we pronounce the K in knowledge?
What?
Because we haven't acknowledged it yet. Captain Hawkins used to tell me that joke every time I look the way you look right now.
Super helpful. I'm not getting anywhere.
Not yet.
We're running out of time.
Isn't that the human condition?
If you're trying to make me feel better, it's not working.
I've got bad news, Audrey. It's always like this.
Send in the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
I figure that's a good. I like that little intro thing there. So I will say, first off, you shot this all on an iPhone, correct?
All on iPhone. Yeah, it's 100% iPhone.
So I love the fact that like it's just on people's faces, but it's still very. As it goes, it builds more. It gets very interesting. So like in the lighting, like I love all that little tidbits in there. But it takes place in 1966. I love the concept of it. I think it's very well shot. I mean, I would never have guessed it's on an iPhone.
Mm. Yeah, I've even had other directors tell me like, oh, when you said you were going to shoot it all on iPhone, I had a preconceived notion of what it was going to look like, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, I can't believe you guys shot that on iPhone. So, and now, granted, it is a souped up iPhone. We bought a super cage, which just allows you to put the phone in it and connect things to it. It's got a really nice lens on it. So it's a souped up iPhone. It's not like we just pulled it out of our pockets and started shooting. But the iPhone is very capable. You know, you said yourself the technology is better than what we went to the moon with. So, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, correct me if I'm mistaken, but don't iPhones use Sony sensors on their cameras?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Probably the DP Nathan would know the answer to that, but I don't. Yeah,
I would suspect it will. Yeah,
I mean,
the ISO is really good in low light. Yeah.
It's kind of fun with the iPhones where it's. I mean, we used to do vlogging, and the iPhones end up being better than some of these $800 cameras you can get, which is kind of crazy. But yeah. No, it's a really good short film. Like I said, Jay, you also had Is No Vacancy coming out, or is it already came out, right?
No Vacancy is technically out. It was just on the festival circuit, and so when it's on the festival circuit, you can't put it on YouTube.
Right.
So we made No Vacancy in 2023, at the end of 2023. So technically, it's been going around the country, the world. Actually, it's been going around the world, but it has not. It's not been anywhere like where the general public can watch it, right? So we're gonna put No Vacancy out on probably in January, maybe February. Just kind of depends on how that shakes out.
Okay. By the way, that guy that plays the general, I want that guy to read me like a spooky story.
Isn't that guy good? Yeah, he's
his
so
voice
awesome.
is so gravelly. It's like I relate to that guy. Just like I don't want to be here. I'm like,
Bobby Lee Black plays General Clark, and he's amazing. Yeah. Great job. Fun fact about Bobby Lee Black: he used to be a WCW wrestler.
Really?
Dude,
oh wow!
Jacked. I think he was like, what was his name? Something like Priest Black or Preacher Black or something like that. But yeah, back in the day, he was a WCW wrestler.
Like in the what era? I used to watch WCW back in the day.
It was probably I got into professional wrestling for a very, very short period when Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock were going at each other. I believe Bobby was a part of WCW before that. Okay. I know it's a different entity, right? I'm not doing apples to apples.
Yeah. Is that him here?
That's him. Yeah. When
he was way
back.
Yeah.
He was super jacked. Yeah.
Hey, Jay, you think he can hit the Universal rides, this guy?
Yeah, he's prepared for Universal rides in this photo for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
He's got his protein shake on ice.
That's right.
It's right off. They made him put it down for the picture. He's like, right here. I'm picking it right back up when we're done.
Oh, I love
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, go check out Disclosure. It's on. I linked it below. It's on Jay's channel. Which is, I'm going to remember the name of this without having to think. It is How Stories Work with Jay Shear. And I love when Jay breaks down movies, and it's from the director's eye, and is being able to do that. I love that stuff. So,
Jay,
go ahead.
Jay, I'm sorry, Jay, on How Stories Work, is that's where I love that Darth Vader video you did. Why is Vader scary?
Oh yeah. That's an older one, but that's on there.
That's a great one. And I think everyone at home, go to How Stories Work, check that one out. I love that video. That is fascinating. And it's the stuff you don't really realize, but it's subconsciously, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, as a director, you're always, as a storyteller in general, but especially when you think about directing from a visual standpoint, you're always trying to come up with what is the best way to showcase something visually. So like one of the things I've talked about a lot with Disclosure is like one of the reasons we wanted to have a straight on is because we wanted it to increase conflict with the audience. Like when I had someone say to me like, yeah, when Father Alvarez says, do you believe in God? And he's looking right at me, it feels like he's asking me that question. Right. Yeah. Or when I'm being told like, no, I'm not going to tell you, it's classified. You're instantly like, wait a minute. I want to know. You can't tell me like because of the way we shot it. We shot it that way intentionally so that it's almost as if they're talking directly to you. And because we're all facing a decision about whether or not we're going to believe what we believe with UFOs, with aliens, with all that stuff. And if I point the camera at the people and then they're going to speak directly to me as the audience, now it's a different feel than if they're just talking to an interviewer and I'm a third-party observer of that interview. It's almost like I don't have to make a decision. But of course, so it's the same way with the way they filmed Vader, which is why I talked about that I was comparing the way that they shoot Vader, the way that George Lucas shoots Vader to the way that Vader was shot in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And I'm like, he's not scary in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And here's why, because he was shot differently.
That's a very good point. Well, and that's something where like, I think when it comes to theme parks too, and like movies where it's like so much of the stuff that it's not so like overtly obvious if you're not looking for it, but it like you were saying, the Vader stuff, like there were probably, I had a lot of problems with the Kenobi show and how they did Vader, but a lot of it was due to like prequels and how it affected other stuff. But there's just so many nuanced little things that somebody who's not George Lucas or involved in those original movies are not going to be able to replicate the same way.
Yep.
And it makes a difference, but you just can't necessarily tell it. It's not necessarily like exactly the words they're saying, but it's like how they're saying it and like how they set him up. I love stuff like that where it can go from, that's what makes like great directors great.
Yep.
And then you have like I don't know, who's the guy that made Rush Hour? Brett Ratner. Exactly. I hate Brett Ratner movies so much. You know, stuff like that I think is what makes, you know, a difference on those things.
Yeah, I'll just give you one. You can go watch the full video, but one of the cheat codes is that when Lucas films Vader, he almost always films Vader from a lower angle. And when you do that, you make Vader look really big, and you make him look like really scary. He's above me. He's taking up the space. It's his space. He owns the space. Whereas when you see in the Kenobi show, there's one shot where Vader's walking through this giant empty field, and you're like, he looks small, and he doesn't look intimidating, and he's just walking through a field. Like, I don't think that's scary, you know? So it's, how you shoot it matters.
And it's crazy because when you think about the time that they were making these films, you know, he was making this for theatrical, Lucas.
Yeah.
And so when he was thinking about how he wants to shoot the scene, he was thinking about an audience sitting in a non-auditorium theater, looking up at a screen. And so he's looking at it from this vantage point in his mind. He's like, okay, I want to shoot it like this because the audience is going to be down here and Vader's going to be up there. And so, but when you're shooting for a television, you're looking directly at the TV. Yep. Right. And so they're framing these shots in their minds based off of how their audience are going to be receiving this. And that's another reason why, I mean, this is like, if you want to get into like the how they got there, this is how they're framing it. And it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's not shot for a theatrical. And even if it was shot for theatrical today, it's still totally different because most movies now are in an auditorium and like basically everybody is not sitting at the very bottom looking up at the screen. Everybody's eye onto it. So
they also didn't have enough time to film Kenobi, by the way. So even then, like you can't. Sometimes you just have to put stuff together, and you're like, "Well, he's walking through the field today because I can't do 4 shots of him." You know what I mean? So, anyway,
farmer Vader just going through his field.
$180 million budget, be damned too. Right? Is that crazy?
That's wild. And Slimer, you actually, with that explanation, which was actually brilliant, made a good case as to why Netflix should not buy Warner Brothers. So we've come full circle.
Well, here's the question. So Nolan is notorious that he films with he shoots on film and versus digital. Do you think from a standpoint, obviously, I mean, you work with what you have within your budget whenever you're, you know, making independent movies, but do you think that there's actually a difference when something's shot on film or digital, or do you think that's just sort of like director's preference, or do you think it kind of creates like a depth? I've heard people talk about that before.
I think that there's a really good video that if anybody has any interest in actually making films, I highly recommend. It's I don't remember the creator's name, but if you search for what is it? Haptic versus
real. It's like haptic versus realistic, I think.
I think it was haptic versus visual. I want to say. I don't know. It's one of those two. Because he's making a case that haptic is how you should make film, and the other one is how you shouldn't make film. It's a phenomenal video with how he breaks it down. He filled in a lot of gaps that I would not have been able to express to you about why I think that some films don't really feel correct in the modern day. And he uses actually Jurassic World Dominion and says like, this is filmed with the latest tech and the best cameras. And then you go back and you look at Jurassic Park, the original from 93, and it looks better, right? And the reason for that isn't because they just use digital cameras, right? And versus film cameras. That's not the difference. But the difference is that with digital and with special effects and with CGI, you can get away with something that I've been talking about a lot lately, which is you remove the shared human experience, right? So the shared human experience is what he's calling haptic. When someone picks up the sand in Dune and lets it run through their fingers, you go, I've let sand run through my fingers before. It draws you into that experience. The way he even brings up, like, Spielberg is kind of notorious for this, but Spielberg will leave deep focus, which means he's not just focusing on what's in front. He's letting you see all the entire scene. But even I was watching a movie with my wife last night called, I don't know, The Christmas Heist or something. It's on Netflix, and they're filming up close. Everything in the background is blurred, right? Well, one of the things that does for us, it's not that you shouldn't sometimes blur the background, but you have to be really careful as a filmmaker, because all of a sudden the world doesn't feel as lived in. Because when I'm in that room, I'm not just shooting it. I'm not just seeing the person with everything blurred in the background. I'm seeing all of the background. It's haptic for me. I can start to smell the smell of the room because it looks like there's Christmas trees. I smell pine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you have to, as a filmmaker, think. So it's not film versus digital. It's what am I trying to accomplish with what's on screen? Am I trying to make it feel ethereal? Am I trying to make it feel realistic? Am I trying to make it feel this way? And how do I communicate the shared human experience through this channel?
So it's not like Nolan couldn't film a great movie on digital. Like I get the feeling that it comes down to, like, Nolan cares that much, therefore the way he shoots stuff is going to come across a different way versus someone who just is like, oh, this is the latest camera. Like, there's not as much. I guess it comes down to the details of, like, every single scene, which I feel like hearing Nolan talk and other directors like that, like, every scene they're going in-depth details for the things that you just said.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of times stuff is just shot and you're like, all right, good, let's go, and it just
fix it in post. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's a huge problem. I've never shot. To be fair, I've never shot with film. I've shot with the Red cameras. We shot with the same cameras. We shot No Vacancy with the same cameras they shot The Killer on Netflix with. Like, they're like some of the best digital cameras out there. But I do want to try film someday, and I do know a DP that shoots in film lives close to me. So I'd like to try that someday. But it's more expensive. It's much more. You don't have as much to play with. Digital, you can delete files, or you can just keep filming and filling up hard drives. But you've got a reel of film you're gonna have to swap out, so it's going to be different. So there are other challenges, but I don't think I think that film captures more. It's kind of like listening to vinyl.
I was going to bring that up, actually. Yeah.
It's kind of like listening to vinyl as opposed to listening to something digitally. There is something about somebody made this and it was crafted with actual materials. It's not just some files on a computer somewhere. That does have an impact, but it's not a big enough impact where it was like you could have someone making a digital film and someone making a film, and the digital one would still be better because the person doesn't know what they're doing. It's not gonna like change your movie. It's just gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Well, now Rudio's a friend of mine. I love Rudio. What's going on, Rudio? He says, as much crap as Euphoria gets, the fact it's shot on Kodak film makes it look interesting. I've never seen Euphoria. Have you guys seen this show?
No,
I have not. I've heard it's a lot of young kids doing illicit drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something my wife would enjoy. She's actually seen it. So the creator, Jay, I actually found his channel here. So the video is called Haptic versus Optic, and the creator's name is Like Stories of Old.
Yep. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I highly recommend him as well. I've actually been watching a lot of his videos recently, and what he does that's very interesting is he actually approaches filmmaking through almost a philosophical lens as well. So he'll even approach it from like Friedrich Nietzsche or maybe like Descartes. And it's very interesting. And one of the ways he explained it, Jay, that was just really fascinating to me, the difference between haptic versus optic, was he used ocular sensing, so the way we sense the world, the physical world, visually as a method for sensing texture. So in other words, like you can look at a golf ball,
correct,
and the way you process that's the surface of a golf ball gives you a certain amount of information about the texture of that golf ball, and you process it in a way that is almost through touch, but as he calls like ocular touch. And when he said that, I was just like, "Holy smokes! That is such a powerful description of the difference between haptic filmmaking versus optic filmmaking." And so this is the guy right here, but it's absolutely true. And then there's this one movie he shows where you can see what's his name, Rob Schneider, the main character of Jaws, and
I thought you were gonna say Deuce Bigelow.
Yeah,
right. And they're in the tropics, and they're having this intense conversation in a bar, and it's like in the middle of the Malaysian jungle, and everybody's dripping sweat. You can see the sweat rings on everybody's armpits and things like that. Like people, like how you'd really see it if you were in the tropics. I live in Florida. I know. This is accurate. And then they switch to the same kind of a scenario in Jurassic World Rebirth, and everybody's got perfect skin. Everybody's got their Maybelline on. Nobody's sweating, and it's a perfect. It captures perfectly exactly the difference of how like Steven Spielberg did it versus how the directors now are doing. And then he gets into like these mid shots where every background is blurry, so that way they can. So you can focus in on the actor. And what happens when you do that is you lose what's going on in the background, which is really important because what's going on in the background tells you where you are, and it tells you where they're at, because everything the actors are doing has to resonate with you as an audience. You have to be there. And if everything's blurred out, you're not there.
One of the things I really liked about the video was that I've spent a lot of time talking about, from a writing perspective, especially not even directing, because I'm newer at directing. I've been writing for decades. On the writing front, one of the things you're trying to do is you're trying to capture the shared human experience. And what that means is that like it's impossible. So I'll tell you what the shared human experience is not, right? The shared human experience is not that. Well, I'll give you a really dumb example. In Turning Red, when the little girl character says, "My body, my choice," right? That is a distinct political statement applied as a joke. I get it's applied as a joke, but it is a shared human experience for a portion of the public who wants to believe that, right? For the rest of the public who doesn't want to believe that, it's not a shared human experience. It is a distinctly anti-experience, right? And so as a writer, one of the things that you're trying to do, this is why I say I'm always saying you should not be political in your writing, be human in your writing, is you're trying to find the shared human experience. I'm trying to figure out, what is it about the photo that's behind Slimer that we all really care about? Well, we know that there were hundreds of people. That photo might be a recreation, but it's still, we know that there were hundreds of people dying around that area at Iwo Jima, and there were people that were still trying to raise the flag, saying that we had a chance that our guys were on that island and we were going to take it over. Now, I might not have the same experience if I was, rooting for the Japanese Empire at that point in time, right? But we feel a certain thing about that photo. We feel a certain thing about Baby Grogu. Why do we? I know you hate Baby Grogu, Jared. So Jared does not have this experience. But one of the reasons
used to like him a lot more. I blame Lucasfilm. But
okay, fair.
Should I cover his ears right now?
Oh yeah, cover that thing. He's over here too.
Out of the room.
Yeah, there. Don't look at him over there. But one of the reasons why we respond so quickly is because we have a shared human experience of seeing babies and going, "I want to take care of this thing."
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so as immediately when Mandalorian walks in there, you're like, "You have to take care of that thing, dude. You can't kill it." Mm-hmm. And so and the shared human experience is what defines our humanity, right? And so what I loved about his video was he was taking that and applying it to a visual medium and saying, why do I care about this? Why does the golf ball feel real in this scene, but the golf ball does not feel real in this scene? We saw a little bit of the footage where it was like, why does the jungle not look real in Jurassic Park Dominion or whatever it was? I think it was the latest one, whatever that one is, versus the Lost World filmed way back in the day. Why does that one feel real? And so there's a lot, and to me, it becomes, whether you're thinking about writing or you're thinking about directing or you're thinking about whatever you are doing creatively, what is the shared human experience around this thing? And if you can capture that, then we will feel it. And it'll be, you can have worse special effects. You can have just things can actually be objectively less real seeming. But if you went in with the shared human experience in mind, my suspension of disbelief doesn't kick in, and I believe it anyways. Right. And that's really what it comes down to, I think, for a lot of that stuff.
What I think my whole thing with Baby Grogu is the fact that I feel like it got to a point where they were manipulating you as an audience. Like when you're watching it and you're just like, when I know you're trying to manipulate me, then I just get ticked. I'm just like, okay. Like then you were tapping into like, I'm a father. I get it. Like what you're going to do. But like, when it becomes manipulation, I think that's also something that you could go too far that if you don't
100%.
develop a further story, and I kind of it's another thing about Mandalorian. But real quick, Falco Shimmer Flare here says, "What's the difference between traditional cameras to digital cameras?"
So it's just the way that it actually functionally works, right? When you're shooting on film, it's so if you grew up in the analog era, which I did because I'm old. If you grew up in the analog era, the way that you're basically doing is you're imprinting light onto film, right? When you imprint light onto film, you get a film strip, and you have all of these little images, and that's why we have frame rate, because all of the little images are different frames of the photo. It's basically a reel of film is just taking thousands of photos. It's basically what that's doing. The digital equivalent of that is the digital camera is looking at the image and then trying to replicate it with pixels. It's not actually capturing it the way that a film is actually capturing it. So that's a very rudimentary. I am not a DP. I'm not a director of photographer. I'm not a cinematographer. I don't get into the camera stuff. That is a very rudimentary description of what the difference is between the two. But that's why when you make an album, a vinyl album, you're literally imprinting into the grooves the sound that's going to be played out of the thing, right? It's very analog. But when in digital, you're actually you're recording it, and it's turning it into bits. So it's just a different process, and that's what the difference is beforehand.
Gotcha. I love all that stuff. By the way, we definitely need to do when's the next thing next batch of Stranger Things content coming out?
Christmas Day.
Okay. So I'm going to get caught up here this next week. I think maybe next week or next 2 weeks, we should do like a Stranger Things dive into this.
We got to have Slimer, because Slimer and I are two of the only people that agree on the problem that brought up.
I want to see all your guys' opinions, because I would love to do it. Like, that is one of those shows where that's the first show in a while where I've been like, I think season 3 was a little weak in my opinion, but it's just a very good show, very unique show, and I love that whole the monsters and all that stuff. I think it's very, very cool. So I definitely think we should do a breakdown of that. I think it'd be fun to talk through.
Yeah. And Tones would be great on that show too.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I said, it could be a fun thing. Like it'd be one of those where I'm very curious. I've stayed away from spoilers. I've heard mixed reviews about season 5 so far. I'm about an hour and a half left of the last episode of season 4. Okay. And I love season 4.
Yeah,
I still
season 4 is a banger.
Yeah, season 1, it might be the best. I mean, I think I said it before. It might be it's definitely one of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost perfect.
I think
watching through it again, I liked it even more than I did the first time.
I think I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you this up front. So season 5, get ready for a protracted setup. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's my ranking of them is season 1 is my favorite, season 4 is my second favorite, and then people, they like to do the flip flop. They maybe I like 2 better, maybe like 3 better. I like 3 a little bit better than I like 2, personally speaking.
Okay. Yeah, I look at 2 and 3 very similar. I think I probably liked 2 more than 3. I don't know. The parts of 3 got to the point where there was so much you're in the middle of it, you're preparing to fight something, and it's like, we're gonna have a relationship fight. And I'm like,
yeah.
Now, you got stood up. We get it, Hopper, but you're about to deal with
it was lighthearted. Whereas season 2 to me was a little bit almost too dark, especially with Will's character. It was it's not as fun. So yeah, if you're choosing between season 2 and season 3, to me, you're choosing, do you like the lighthearted jokiness a little bit more, or do you like the darker kind of horror aspects of it?
And I kind of tend to, in a show like that, I like the comic relief at times, but I do like the more it treats it as a serious thing. Whereas I think 4 had a really good balance.
Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. A great balance of that. I love Steve. By the way, I love Steve.
Steve's the best.
Steve, when he's with the kids, is so funny because he got this I couldn't imagine at that age having a friend that's a cool guy in school and things like that.
Have you seen the Dear Billy episode yet of season 4?
Yes.
It is one of the best episodes of television that has ever been written.
It's really good. It's very, very good.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really, and I like the ending of 3. It's not that it was terrible. It just wasn't as, I think season 1 was such a high bar to hit that even though 4 even got close to it, I think is a testament to being able to kind of do something yet again. But Let's see. We got a couple. Ariel Angel says Stranger Things this season is incredible. And she also said, I almost thought they couldn't top season 4, but this season is so good. Okay. Okay. But yeah, we should definitely do that. I think it'd be fun. But no, I think we've been going for a bit over 2 hours now. So I figure we could probably end this.
Good show. That's good. That's a good length. Yeah.
I
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate
I timed it. Cutting that one part. I was like, I know this is going to go longer. I get an idea here, but I love talking this stuff. I love talking to Jay about movies and all that stuff. What were you saying?
we got to get Jay on more often and just movie stuff and picking his brain on the theme park stuff. It's a lot of fun with you, Jay.
Well, I was telling OG, I want to start doing more like reviews of stuff because I really do enjoy doing, and I think it fits into this. So when we do that, we'll holler at Jay, and I'll see. Sometimes I'm like, "Am I right about this?" And if Jay backs me up, I'm like, "See," and then if I'm wrong, I'm like, "No, I'm not sure how am I supposed to know these things?" But no, it's a great time. Everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. Before we go, I do want to mention before we head out of here, if anybody's looking for some theme park or pop culture apparel. Still have Black Friday sale going on.
Yeah, there you go.
The
Black Friday deals.
Yep, ctmapparelco.com. Have some brand new designs up. Got some Christmas designs. I've been very busy printing shirts the past few days. But if you're looking for some shirts, we got Epic Universe, Disney. I'm going to start doing a little bit more. I thought about doing some sort of Stranger Things type of shirt.
Ooh.
So
okay, yeah.
But if you go to ctmapparelco.com, use the promo code Black Friday, you'll get 25% off. And then if you order $49 more, you get free shipping on top of that. So they're all very comfortable shirts. We print them in-house, so they last a long time, very comfortable, and get them well before Christmas. So if you want to go check that out, I'll put the link in the description as well, but you can go do that and get yourself some cool shirts. But before we go, thank you guys for being here, of course. Orange Grove 55, where can everybody find you? And thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, no, it's always a pleasure. Love talking shop with you guys. It's great because we all nerd out in the group texts, and then we bring our group text to the camera, which is fantastic. We live this stuff, and I love that. But thank you, gentlemen, and thank you everybody in the chat. Really, really fun conversations today. A great time. But you can find me if you're watching this on Capture the Magic. You can find me on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking very similar stuff, theme parks, studio, all that nerdy stuff. And you can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
There we go. Thank you. And Slimer, thank you for being here. And where did everybody find you?
Hey, thanks for having me. I enjoyed this conversation as always. And everybody in the chat, thank you very much for hanging out. I know it's late, but we always try to make it worth your while. But anyways, Jay, really appreciate you coming on for the first time, and look forward to having you back on again, man. It's been a fun one. But as far as you can find me on all social medias at Slime Square or Slime Square 84.
There we go.
There we go. And Jay, it was his first time on this channel, but I don't think it'll be the last time. It was really enjoyable having you on here. By the way, love the hat. Jay can wear the flat bill hats. I can't pull off the flat bill hats. I think my head's too big. It makes it big, but I go with Ben. But Jay, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you? And of course, go check out Disclosure as well.
Yeah, absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. Always love hanging out with you guys. In fact, I wish I could do twice as many shows than I am able to do. OG's always like, can you do a show? I'm like, oh, I can't do this show. But yeah, you can find me at How Stories Work with Jay Shear. That's where I'm breaking down films. It's where we put our original films. We also have a Star Wars short film that came out in 2016, almost 10 years ago. So you can go watch that too. So you can watch Disclosure, and you can watch our Star Wars Rivals short film over at How Stories Work with Jay Shear.
Yep. Awesome. And if you're a member on OG55, you can watch No Vacancy right now.
That's correct as well.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, be on the lookout for No Vacancy as well coming up soon. Yeah. So awesome stuff. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for everybody in the chat. And thank you to those who sent in some super chats. Xvoot, Matt Muir, Cliff Flicks, and Ariel Angel was a member, I think, with OG for 14 months. Thank you guys for hanging out and participating. We greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys on the next one. Everybody have a great evening, a great week, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Let's go. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Rap quick, more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo, move. Back up, back up. Oh my God. It's hitting the monorail.
Get ready ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.